In the world of Celestials, the story began with someone stepping heavily on the ground. Two men heard a strange sound and looked around nervously. Someone flashed past at lightning speed, and the space around them glittered. They stood there in utter disbelief. The man cut out all the people who were there, and the wound reopened. He remembered the jewelry and the note with the appointment, and the threat that if he didn't show up, his student would be killed. And he clutched the ornament in awe. I remembered the time when he accepted her as a student, and her gift that he didn't want to accept. She turned to him admiringly. She was happy to become the mentor's personal disciple. The offering, though frivolous, expresses her wishes, and she hopes that her mentor will accept it. He exhaled and told her that if she studied hard enough, she would be able to achieve immortality. In reality, his disciple was suspended by chains and whispering to her mentor, and begged desperately to save her. The mentor arrived at the place and sat down on the rock without making a sound. The two guys had talked among themselves that even if the mentor didn't come, they would take advantage of the opportunity, but they also couldn't let her survive. He turns his head to their side. Hearing this upsets and angers him, yelling furiously, "You've injured my disciple." Rushing into the crowd, he will be recognized as Luo Wuji. The crowd exclaimed that Luo Wuji had come and was killing them all. The student sees the mentor with joy, calls him, and asks him to help her. The mentor hears her and tells her to hold on. But at this moment, 10 violent arrays are revealed from under his foot. And it turns out that it was her doing and injuring him. She gets rid of the chains, laughing. He started to bleed, and he doesn't want to believe his eyes. When the student comes down, she asked why she shouldn't hand over his robe. She always thought that he had a cold temper, and he never valued their friendship with her. He could see through this trap. She hadn't expected such inattention from her mentor and was truly moved. He shouts and asks her what she's up to, and she replies that if he gives up the heavenly cannon, and she gives him an easy death. He realizes that he can't even move, and a flaming flower opens above his head. Or else, she says, doesn't blame her for not caring about the feelings between them. Luo Wuji thought back to when he first accepted her as a disciple. He angrily clenched the ornament in his palm and split it into pieces. His eyes flash, and the next moment he's furiously shouting, "Don't dream!" It smashes down and sweeps away everything around it. The student is terrified and doesn't understand what's going on. Seeing his strength, she thinks that even though he is heavily injured, he is still so strong that she is not doing well. And suddenly, an unknown force falls on the mentor. He gets shot again and coughs up blood. An unfamiliar voice from behind tells the mentor not to fight so hard. Luo Wuji asks them in a daze, did they betray him for the sake of the heavenly cannon? He was coldly told that it was better for him to pass on the heavenly cannon. And remembering the past, they promised to spare the body, and assured that his disciple would also be taken care of. The mentor was getting worse, coughing up blood again and staggering. Suddenly, a female disciple appeared in front of him. She mockingly says that he is really going to get down on his knees and beg for forgiveness. But he adds that she is not as merciful as he is and pulls out his sword. Pointing the sword at him, she says that if she doesn't pass on the heavenly cannon, then adds with mock pity that she can only chop it into pieces and search for it herself. Luo Wuji's lips curled into a grin, the next moment forming a ball around himself. All three of them nervously don't understand what he's doing. The ball keeps getting stronger. One shouts that this is a secret technique to protect the heavenly cannon. We must first suppress it. Mentor, breathing heavily and bleeding, gathers strength. Angrily, he mentally asks them if they want to receive the heavenly cannon. Folding your fingers starts activating the technique. Then take the heavenly cannon from the underworld, he says, and the ball begins to grow larger. The student in a panic understands that the case is bad. He wants to self-destruct. In the next instant, the balloon explodes into pieces and scatters everyone away from it. In the cosmic darkness, a blinding explosion breaks out. Fiery fragments are carried away into the void. After the explosion, space is once again plunged into a ringing silence. Trying to wake up, vaguely hears the next station being announced. Finally coming to his senses, he realizes that he is not dead. Clenching his hand into a fist, he looks away. Looking at the view from the window, it is overwhelming to think that he has really been reborn. All of his inner strength was lost, but the heavenly cannon survived. I didn't think that he would return to Earth again, especially at the age of 20. He now needs to restore his internal organs and find the hidden magic seeds. And then he will become one with whom no one can compare in strength. Mentally tells the student that he is looking forward to their meeting. Suddenly he gets a call on his mobile phone, takes it out of his pocket, sees an unknown number. The girl on the other end of the phone calls him Luo Cheng and says that she is Zhang Xiaoman. She guiltily reports that she is calling from her mother's phone, since her phone is dead. Her mother clears her throat in displeasure, tells him to text when he's coming, and they'll pick him up. She hangs up before he can answer. Shaking his head, he addresses her mentally. He chuckles and says that he still has to settle accounts with her. A girl sitting next to him saw him sneer. She stands up abruptly, angrily asking what he means, calling out to the people sitting next to her. The guy looks at her in disbelief. She calls him a brute, says that he just looked at this picture and for some reason grinned. The guy continues to be silent. She turns her head away and says that this is a rare painting and calligraphy of the highest level, so how dare he sneer. Her grandfather is nearby reproaching her for her rudeness. An elderly man looking at his side asks what he thinks about this picture, and at this moment the guy thinks, if this girl has persecution mania. He exhales wearily and says it's a fake. The other two are surprised and annoyed and don't understand what he's talking about. The elder says with displeasure that the authenticity of this scroll was established by several professionals, to which the young man reacted to his words with obvious skepticism. Indifferently adds that if he says so, then everything is so, to which the girl is indignant at who he thinks he is. She takes a vicious swing at him, but her fist collides with something. The guy didn't even flinch, he's protected by a barrier. The girl and grandfather do not understand what it was, and the young man is surprised that his inner strength is manifested from the outside. Her grandfather tells her to stop and shuts her out, and she looks at him indignantly. Unexpectedly, the old man is bowing down to ask for forgiveness for his bad manners. The granddaughter doesn't understand why his grandfather is apologizing. He reflects that since the guy can show inner strength externally, then he is at least a great master. And also, if he wanted to, he could kill him and his granddaughter in an instant. Scolding her granddaughter, she says to apologize to him right now, to which the young man notes that this elderly man is very interesting. She still apologizes while worshipping. He accepts the forgiveness and says that this should not happen again. She notes with displeasure in her mind that no one has ever been able to show his grandfather such respect, asking who this guy is in general. Again, she is surprised that her grandfather is graciously thanking him for his condescension. The old man respectfully inquired his name, to which the latter calmly replied that his name was Luo Chen. Grandfather picks up his scroll apologizing for his rudeness. Asks, holding out the picture, "What evidence is there that this drawing is fake?" The guy takes the drawing with a sigh of annoyance, and snorting she unwraps him and says he's going to prove it to them. The guy puts his hand on the scroll and cuts it open, and suddenly the drawing is torn to pieces, despite the fact that the grandfather and granddaughter are just standing looking at it. The pieces fall down, and the two men turn pale, speechless. The boys snatched up the scrap of paper. The elder and the girl looked at the scrap of paper in Luo's hand in surprise. Grandpa asked with interest what it was. Putting a sheet of paper with ink in front of them, divides it into 3 parts. Asks about the difference between these 3 chunks. Both of them look at them carefully, thinking. Shaking his head, Grandpa replies that there is no difference and asks him to explain in more detail, to which Lo sighs. He notes that one stroke overlaps the other, but the ink mark has not changed. And Grandpa also notices this, is amazed. Realizing that this is a fake, he indignantly admits that he was fooled, and annoyingly gives the drawing to the assistant so that he takes it away. Even the best experts wouldn't be able to spot such a fake, he thought. But Mr. Luo noticed it at a glance and was able to prove it. He is an extraordinary master. The elder continued to think. Lo catches a glimpse of something in the guard's hands. Stopping him, she notes the wooden box in his hands. Grandfather says that if he is interested in the contents of the box, he can just give it to him. The guy wonders how he can just give it away, even if he doesn't know that there is an item inside that will improve the quality of magic seeds. My grandfather pointed a finger at it, telling me to hand it over. Lo, assuming that the old man probably wants to gain his favor, looks at the box. He admits that he needs the item inside this box, but he also doesn't like being in debt. Offers to fulfill any of his requests in exchange. The old man, accepting his offer, said that he would be straightforward. Worshipping and asking him to take his granddaughter as a disciple, the girl freezes, clearly not expecting this. She turns indignantly to her grandfather, and Lo is equally surprised by his request. She continues to be indignant, and at this moment she reminded him of a former student. He gives a sharp cry of refusal, and they both flinch at the sound. Lo says she can't do it if it's her. The old man reminded him of the promise he had just made, and Lo wondered if he could take it back. Annoyed, however, he agrees to take her, but on condition that she does not call him master, but only teacher. The grandfather immediately demanded that his granddaughter show him proper respect. The girl pouted and bowed before the teacher, and he realized that he had acted hastily. A voice from the loudspeaker announces the arrival of the train at Tongzhou Station, and they get off. The grandfather, beaming, waves goodbye and asks to be in touch. Next to the granddaughter is indignant at his manners, and again scolds his granddaughter for her behavior in public. The girl asks her grandfather why he refused all the masters before when they wanted to take her as an apprentice, but today he gave her to Mr. Loi. Lightly tapping her on the head, he says that this is how he makes connections. Grandfather asks, doesn't she remember Lin Hualong, who he was talking about recently? She was remembering, asking the one who was on Tianlong's list and calling him Mad Beast. Grandfather confirms what he says about him. He single-handedly destroyed hundreds of armed enemies and then became a great master. She doesn't want to believe with a shiver that her grandfather wants to say that Luo can become a master like Lin Hualing. angrily reproaches her for insulting Lo. Surprising her, says that Luo's strength already surpasses Lin Huolong's. Going down, he tells you not to make any more mistakes, having won his favor. The girl who called him was already waiting for him at the station with her mother. After leaving the Luo station, he suddenly stops in the middle of a crowd of people. Memories pop up in his mind, where he asks for help while he is being kicked, and a man appears with a sneer saying that it was more interesting to play with his father before his death. Suddenly, he screamed in horror. Lo tries to process what those memories were. Xiaoman sees him and waves him over. Lo first greets the girl, to which she reproachfully says that it is necessary first with her mother. Her mother complains in her mind that the Chen family's son is much better than this poor devil. Lo greets his aunt innocently. She turns away with contempt and says that he didn't even bother to say hello to her at first, and that the young people don't have any manners now. The girl tried to calm her down, but her mother immediately tells her to get in the car and they will go home. Lo doesn't take it into his head to get in the car, and the girl thinks that he's changed a lot. Driving past the houses, he notices what a beautiful landscape opens up from these mansions, and continues that she only needs to buy a townhouse for her daughter. In response, the girl assumes that such a house costs at least 70,000 yuan per square meter. Hinting looks at Lo, says that she has nothing to worry about because Lo will take care of everything, right? Suddenly, Xiaoman's phone starts ringing, and she nervously shuts it off. The screen lit up her correspondence with a man. They finally arrive, and the girl goes home to tell her dad that Lo is back. The guy greets his uncle, and he notices that he has grown up. The mother irritably tells her husband to quickly prepare the food. Lo kindly says that he will help his uncle with the cooking. Mom tells her daughter that she should raise her standards. Otherwise, Lo is just as useless as her father. The girl is startled by the unexpected doorbell and thinks who might have come. A man bursts in, the girl asks why he came, and he announces the appointment of their date at the cinema. She abruptly closes the door in front of him, saying that she is very busy today. But then the mother comes up and lets Chen pass. But we have Luo at home because the daughter objects. He shows the perfume set to his aunt, offers to bring more if you like it, she gladly accepts. Someone draws his attention to himself and angrily looks at him. As Lo approaches them, he suddenly freezes in place. The man asks his aunt who it is and notes that he has a strong aura. She answers that this is a friend of her daughter, and their fathers were also friends, came here to find a job. The man lets out a sigh of relief, as he's just an unemployed loser. And with a smile, he holds out his hand as a sign of acquaintance. Lo does not shake his hand. Turning away, says that now he will help his uncle, and he calls everyone to eat. Xiaoman indignantly tells Luo that he is talking to him, and Chen is angry at his disrespect. Chen says that to be successful, you need to start by finding friends, so he will help Luo if you have any problems. Turning to him, Luo replied, "Since it's a promise, then fine." Chen asked Xiaoman why her friend wouldn't come to work for his company. Immediately, his mother grabs his offer, begins to praise him for opening his own company when he was young. She rebukes Luo, saying that he has a lot to learn from Chen. Aunt invites everyone to the table, but Lo turns away and leaves. An unknown technique is activated in Lo's hand when leaving. Xiaoman hurries after him, asking where he's going. Chen thought with a grin that he left because he couldn't save face. Something glittering appeared on Chen's back. Luo and Xiaoman went outside, and he lit a cigarette while she tried to explain that she and Cheng were just friends, to which Lo simply responds calmly. The girl anxiously notices what is wrong with him. Usually he does not behave like this. Tearfully, the girl says that his love is not enough because Chen's father is the deputy head of Tongzhou. She says they should at least buy a house, but Lo doesn't understand what she's implying. This is his father's factory, worth about $300,000. Clinging to his hand, she says that her mother offered to use the factory for a mortgage loan. He is once again flooded with memories where he has a property contract in his hands, and from below buyer Xiaoman, he happily says that they will now have a house. Later in the flashback, he bursts into the room where Xiaoman is lying with a man. He was beaten by a crowd of guys with metal bars, and he understands that he was deceived by Xiaoman. Finally shouting that this money was saved by his father all his life, he is brought to reality by her voice calling out to him. Naively, she offered to discuss it with his father. But Lo snatches out his hand and says that they have nowhere to hurry, thinking in their minds that the most interesting thing is ahead. Meanwhile, at home, her aunt is angry that they ran away before the meal, and Chen calms her down. While munching on his food, he tells his aunt that she should open his present. She's beaming with joy as she praises Chen for his generosity. Comparing him to Luo, who only gave him 2 tea bags, Chen also laughs at his gift. Suddenly it dawns on him what kind of tea it was, and then his stomach starts to growl horribly. Aunt, admiring the perfume, thinks that her friends would die of envy. His stomach twisted so hard that it was impossible to hold back. She suddenly smelled a terrible smell that made her feel sick. Aunt also can't stand the stench and starts throwing up. Chen is trying to escape from this room. Xiaoman heard the sounds coming from the house and turned around. Looking inside, she wanted to ask what was wrong. Chen staggers out from inside and says, Run. She covers her nose, doesn't understand what the smell is and why it stinks so much. Lo appears in front of him and scoffs at the stench that comes from him. He raises his hand and a light flashes, and Chen in front of him can barely hold on. Luo lowers his hand, and Chen's leg buckles. It hits the floor with a thud. Hunched over in pain, he clutches his hand convulsively, feeling like he's been cursed. He runs away, saying that they will meet again. Lo replies that this is only a small part of what he owes him. When Luo leaves, Xiaoman offers to take him to a hotel and discuss buying a house on the way. But then her mother calls out to her, asking where she's going and if she can't see what state she's in. Lo calmly refuses her, saying that he will go himself. She stares after him in silence, not knowing what to say in response. When you leave Lo's house, you get a message on your phone. The message was from his student, asking where he was now. As Lo walks down the street, a strange man spots him from afar. He immediately notices the backpack on his back. He appears in front of him, obsessively offering him a ride. Without looking up from the phone, Lo dismisses him indifferently. The man does not lag behind, continuing to impose a trip in just 20 minutes. Lo pulls his hand away from her and angrily refuses him again. After him, the taxi driver spits, calls him a beggar, and then abruptly an expensive foreign car stops right in front of him. A student opens the car door and apologizes for being late. The taxi driver freezes in surprise, and Lo tells the student that everything is fine. The man clicks his tongue and snaps in exasperation, then turns and walks away. The student quietly offers to teach this rude man a lesson. Lo calmly replies that this is not necessary. Because he's got bigger problems, he continues. Still angry about what happened, he lights a cigarette and suddenly someone touches him. Turning his head, he sees a beautiful girl with a sweet smile. Confused, the stranger asks if he can give her a ride. Charmed by her, with pleasure he agrees, answering that, of course, he will give a ride. The student asks Lo, perplexed, who the taxi driver is talking to, because she can't see anyone around him. To which Lo replies with a slight grin that he's going to die soon. The student looks at him in surprise and does not understand what he is talking about. On the way, the driver, as if remembering, asks the girl where she needs to go. There is an ominous rustle behind him, and she replies that she needs to go to Panlong Bay. And the driver, suspecting nothing, goes on. Lo talks out loud about things that the average person can't understand, assuring her that one day she will see them for herself. They finally reach Tongzhou Grand Hotel. While Lo is waiting, a student comes up with his things and calls out to him. And putting things in front of him, he explains that there is a key card for the presidential suite, a car key, and a contract. The student smiles and asks him to take a look. Holding the document in his hands, he asks why the company is being presented to him. The student replies that this is her tuition fee. After looking through the paper, he realizes that this is the company where Xiaoman works. Mentally chuckling, he notices that the family is well prepared. Further reading, he calmly replies that he accepts, to which the student is very happy. The student gets up from her seat, preparing to leave, so as not to interfere with his rest. Beaming with joy, he runs away, saying that he can call if you need something at any time. As Lo approaches his room at number 7007, he hears an unfamiliar voice from inside. The voice tells the director to stop, and Lo freezes in place in disbelief. He holds the keycard to the lock. A soft beep sounds, and the door is unlocked. There are still shouts of indignation from inside, and Lo wonders if anyone is there. The man, unbuttoning his pants, says that she did not arrange a circus here, to which the girl replies that she will not comply even if he orders the entire group to break their contracts with her. Approaching her, the director says that he underestimated her, and that his request to accompany him is a sign of respect. So many people are queuing outside that door to meet him, he adds. Suddenly there's a crash, and they both turn around in surprise. The door swings open and Lo appears in the doorway. The man looks at him and asks who dared to spoil his mood. Angrily asks Lo who he is. And who even allowed him in here, he adds, coming closer. And Lo doesn't pay attention, silently passes by, to which the man is perplexed by his impudence, and still sits down on the sofa in silence. He takes a lighter and a cigarette, deciding to light it. Seething with anger, the man orders him to get out of here right now. Otherwise, Lo will be crippled by his people, he adds. The girl gesturing tells Lo that he should run faster from here. Without a word, Lo brazenly exhales smoke directly into the man's face, and both of them stare at him in shock. The man explodes with rage because of his action. Grabbing the bottle, he screams in rage, threatening to kill him. But when he swings, the girl clings to his arm, causing the bottle to slip out. Still holding him down, she shouts at Lo that he shouldn't stay here and needs to run. Angrily telling her to let go, he hits her on the head with his elbow, and the girl flies away from him and hits painfully on the side of the table. Then she passes out, and he, puffing with anger, insults her. But Lo suddenly grabs him by the collar. He lifts him up by the collar, and the man yells at him to let go. Otherwise, Lo will be crippled for life. Luo still doesn't react to his words, and a shiver runs down the man's spine. And then the place where he is being held starts to catch fire, and he screams in a panic that if something happens to him, he will be killed tomorrow. All he has time to do is scream, and all his flesh burns away. Law holds him without emotion until even his bones are burned, brushing off the dust as if she's telling him that he's not going to see tomorrow. In his mind, he notes that if he couldn't control his power, the whole room would burn down. Remembering the unconscious girl, he exhales in annoyance. The girl slowly regains consciousness and sees that she is lying in a bathroom full of water. At this moment, Lo is standing quietly smoking. And when the girl sees him, she screams, to which Lo angrily says, "Shut up." She confusedly asks what he's doing here and what happened to the director. Lo coldly replies that it is none of her business and that once the drug is out of action, she will leave this place. She doesn't know what he's talking about. Lo explains to her that she is under the influence of the drug and it will go away in 15 minutes. She doesn't immediately understand what's being said, and Lo adds that he won't repeat it twice, which makes her feel embarrassed. Indignant, he plunges into the water, not understanding what kind of attitude he has towards her. Covering herself with a towel, she carefully steps out of the bathroom. She still found it hard to believe that a guy who looked like a student could handle the headmaster. Lo doesn't even look at her, but abruptly tells her that her time is up, and she remembered what he'd said about 15 minutes. Awkwardly, he admits that he forgot all about it. She says that she doesn't have any clothes and the time is also late, trying to hint. She thinks that he probably won't send her away because usually everyone jumps for joy at the sight of her. But if he suddenly starts harassing her, if he stays, she continues. Dispelling all his thoughts, he decides to find some clothes immediately. Approaching him from behind, she asks him to borrow her phone so that she can call her assistant. Lo responds by pointing out to the room that before anyone comes, she will lock herself in another room. The girl does not understand, freezes in place, and Lo already gets up from his seat. Throwing the phone at her, she says she doesn't want to repeat herself twice. When she catches the phone, she notices that he doesn't even look at her. She reflects that when she got closer, she felt a strong spirit radiating from him. He's not inferior even to great figures, she continues to herself. Bringing her back from her reverie, Lo coldly tells her to leave. Disappointed in him again, she left without any objections. Sulking, she silently resents his cold attitude. With a final good night, she slams the door behind her. Finally left alone, Lo takes the wooden box that the old man gave him. There is indeed a seed hidden inside, all thanks to the Jinn Emperor, he notes. He speculates that these seeds are soul imprints left over from the past era, and some people even have enough low-quality goods to awaken the divine spirit. And this seed is all the more powerful. And if you refine it, you can get the eye of heaven, he continues. Right now, he had almost lost his cultivation. He can only use the power of a martial artist, and Emperor Wujin's power doesn't last forever, he muses. If it wants to recover, it needs to reawaken, Lo thinks, squeezing the seed. Looking at the seed, he regrets that it is so poorly preserved, but decides that there is no need to use it yet. As he sits lost in thought, there is a knock on the door. Turning around, he sees a girl. She says that her assistant will not be able to come. Embarrassed, she offers to switch places, explaining that she is afraid to sleep outside. She adds that she is ready to double the amount paid for the room. In her mind, she admits that she can't feel safe in the second bedroom. Wang Fu can send assassins, and if they change, she will have a safety net. Lo says it's her own wish, and it's written all over her face. Embarrassed, he says, "Less chatter, and just say whether he agrees or not." And to spite her, he replies that he doesn't agree. Irritated, she doesn't believe she can't seduce a teenager like him. She turns with a small smile, her dress and long hair flying. Crawling closer, she says she might not be able to sleep tonight. As she approaches, she whispers that since he won't go to the second bedroom, then all she has to do is sleep with him, playfully right next to his ear, she adds. Afterward, she notices his ear turn red and realizes that despite his apparent indifference, he is still a timid student. At this point, Lo realizes that the current shell is causing him trouble and he is not able to fully control some emotions. Pulling away, she cheerfully thinks that if he refuses her, he will have to leave himself. Luo, confused, asks if she is afraid that he might do something to her. She exhales with a grin, which surprises Lo. Confidently pushing back her hair, she replies that, of course, she is not afraid. But he adds to himself that if this situation becomes known, the consequences will be serious. Remembering that he didn't take advantage of the moment when she was unconscious, she still realizes that she can't be completely sure. Lo lets out an exasperated sigh of agreement. He gets up to leave, and she's happy to think he's accepted her request. She follows him with a sweet smile thanking him. When Lo finally leaves, she lets out a sigh of relief. But suddenly Lo returns, and the girl flinches. He comes over with a hairdryer in his hand, and she looks at him blankly. Throwing down the hairdryer, he tells her to dry her hair, otherwise she'll wet the bed. She takes the hairdryer, embarrassed. She thanks him. noting that he is attentive. And Lo, having covered himself with a blanket, goes to bed and tells not to disturb him. Left standing with a hairdryer in her hand, she doesn't understand what just happened. It's already 3 in the morning, and they're lying with their faces turned away from each other. Barely holding back her tears, she wonders why it all happened like this. Shivering and panting, she cries and says to herself that she didn't want this outcome. And this moment, Lo can't sleep because of all this. Morning is coming. Lo wakes up and sits up in bed. He has an unbearable headache from not sleeping well. He suddenly discovers that the girl has already left. Picking up the pillow, he finds money and a business card under it. The business card contains the name Lan Buyer and a phone number. And on the reverse side, she asks for forgiveness, explaining that she only had money for the initial payment and leaves a signature. Tucking it all away in his pocket, Lo grins at her action. As he gets dressed, he notices papers on the table. As he picks them up, he thinks of the Tongzhou Media Company. Chuckling, he decides that's where he'll go first. While Lo is sitting, they bring him documents about the transfer of the company and ask him to sign. He signs the last document with a fountain pen. The man takes the papers with a bow and thanks. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was a call from Xiaomanya. She asks if he is up. Lo confirms and asks, "What is the matter?" Xiaoman asks where he is because it's almost 9 o'clock and he can't be late. After all, she recommended him to her company, and so the responsibility lies with her, she continues uneasily. Luo replies that he will be there in 10 minutes, and Xiaoman asks him to call her first instead of coming in right away. A girl comes up behind her and taps her on the shoulder, and Xiaoman is startled. The girl says that she heard that her boyfriend will come to them today for an interview. Turning away and hanging up the phone confirms that she is speaking correctly. With feigned surprise, a colleague asks if this is really the case. If he was able to attract Xiaoman, he must have personal assets worth 10 million. So why is he getting a job with them, she continues. Another outside colleague replies that he is just a poor boy from a county town. She adds that she studied with him and Xiaoman at the university, who replies wondering how Xiaoman could choose such a person. The colleague continues that she advised them to break up, because they are from completely different social circles. At this point, Luo appears and addresses Xiaoman. Rushing off, Xiaoman asks Luo why he came in right away. One of the colleagues, smiling politely, asks Luo if he is Xiaoman's young man, to which he replies in the affirmative. And at this moment, she mentally evaluates his appearance and makes sure that what was said about him seems to be true. Another colleague claims that he even looks for a job using Xiaoman and thinks that he is suitable for her. Lo calmly replies that this is his business, and it does not concern her in any way. Losing her temper, she goes on to say that if it wasn't for Xiaoman, he wouldn't even have been hired as a toilet cleaner. Suddenly, a man appears and calls out to Jin. Xiaoman and colleagues bow to greet the director. Another colleague approaches and snuggles up to him, asking what he was doing yesterday. The director, taking out the car keys, answers her that he was at the car dealership yesterday and made an advance, as he asked. While they are happy about the new purchase, Xiaoman feels humiliated. The director invites the entire department to eat, to which everyone claps approvingly. He notices Lo and asks who is this guy. Xiaoman turns to Luo and wants to answer, but her colleague immediately rushes to answer the director. She's already whispering in the director's ear. He turns to Luo and says that he is Zhanghai's sales manager, and Luo now works in their department. To which Luo replies with a short well, and the director, indignantly, thinks how such a stupid poor man could attract Xiaoman. The director takes out the paper and says that although Lo is only working for the first day, he has prepared a task for him. Drawing papers, he explains that now a large client wants to find a person to create an image. Previously, they were offered several artists, but all were rejected. From his words of the director, all-around colleagues are surprised. First, one of the colleagues says that this client is known for being difficult to deal with, and she offered 3 artists, but all were refused, and the second confirms her words. Flipping through the document, Lo notes that the price offered is very high. It would be convenient for him to get some cash. Beaming with joy, the director asks if he will take the case. To which Lo replies with a slight smile that he will take the job. One of my colleagues says with a grin that if she is dissatisfied with the project, she will cancel her order. Another colleague also mockingly adds that he is reckless. The director, laughing, says that he likes such bold ones and before noon he has to find a celebrity. And with a serious face, he adds that if the project is not signed, then all losses will be written off from his salary. Lo calmly replies that there is no need to wait until noon, because he can find the person right now. To which everyone turns to look at him with outright skepticism. They can barely contain themselves from laughing. In the end, her colleagues burst out laughing, which makes Xiaoman feel ashamed. Still laughing, the director jokingly asks if Luo got drunk yesterday. A celebrity must be at least middle class. One colleague tells Xiaoman if there are any problems with his head, and she recalls that at the university she thought he was just a poor student. No one expected him to try to be cool? They were disgusted by it. Luo calls someone, says he needs help, and sends them the address. Xiaoman turns around and shouts at Luo to stop. She turns around and walks away, puffing with anger. Seeing Xiaoman's breakdown, the director looks at Luo and shakes his head indignantly. And waving his arms, he tells everyone to leave. They will wait for the celebrity that Luo promised and get together again, says the director finally. Next to the security post, a guard was standing and smoking. Out of the corner of his eye, he sees the headmaster, who looks cheerful. The security guard offers a cigarette and asks the director why he is in such a good mood. The director replies that a feeble-minded newcomer came to their department who promised to bring him. He assured that he didn't even need to go anywhere. He would solve everything with one call and bring the star, he continues. They laugh, and the guard says that he clearly has a problem with his head. But, more seriously, he adds that there are different people and so maybe he really will bring a celebrity. To which the director sends him and says that then there is no need for Luo to work here at all, adding that if he really brings a star, he will be ready to do anything even standing on his hands. Suddenly, a car with an unregistered license plate pulls up and wants to move in. Approaching the car, the security guard asks who she came to see. The girl wanted to answer but remembered that she still didn't know Luo's name. The guard asks in disbelief if she is Lan Bayer. The girl just looks at him softly. The director coughs in surprise. Meanwhile, in the sales office, colleagues continue to laugh at Xiaoman and Luo. Xiaoman turns to Luo with displeasure, and he calmly reads the papers. Flushing with anger, she asks if he wants to deliberately embarrass her. Luo indifferently asks what exactly he is doing to shame her. She says that she knows that he has enough connections to sign a contract with a star. And why does he even say such unrealistic things in an attempt to look cool? Luo then asks why she didn't step in when the director was framing him. Xiaoman doesn't have anything to say, and that makes her even angrier. At this time, the security guard at the entrance is trying to contain the influx of fans. Lan Bayer, followed by asking for her autograph and take a picture with her. To the side, the director and his colleague are indignantly watching what is happening. The director angrily tells a colleague that she claimed he was just Luo the beggar idiot, and she replies that Lan Bayer doesn't even know the name of the person he's looking for. Maybe it's just a coincidence, she says, to which he quips that it's just a great interpretation. Suddenly, the doors of the hall where Xiaoman and Luo are standing are flung open. Turning around, Xiaoman sees Lan Bayer and doesn't understand what's going on. Ta turns to Luo and says that she has finally found him. Xiaoman, looking at her, can't believe that this is actually happening. Inviting Lan Bayer to sit down, Luo says, "Look at the customer's requirements," to which she is upset, because she thought that he was only looking for a reason to meet. As she sits down, she notes in her mind that her director hasn't looked for her since last night. Apparently, Luo has connections at the top. Otherwise, knowing the character of the director, he would not have left so easily, she continues to reflect. She'd wished this morning that she'd taken his number, but they had a business relationship now, so she didn't have to worry about getting close to him, she thought. Luo asks how quickly she arrived. She looks at him uneasily, and she says that when he called, she was nearby, so maybe it's fate. Xiaoman shudders, wondering how they could have met in the first place. Maybe they're from the same city? But it doesn't seem real. Snapping her out of her thoughts, Lan Bayer turns to Xiaoman. Pointing to the doors, she asks her to close it as it is noisy outside. The security guard, barely holding back the crowd, explains that Lan Bayer is currently discussing a business proposal. Outside, colleagues chat, one asking what's going on, the other beaming back that the new guy brought Lan Bayer here. The first one can't believe what he's hearing, because she's one superstar, he says. The other adds that films with her participation have collected more than $2 billion. The third admits that he really did not expect such sales. The director and a colleague, making their way through the crowd, demand to let them pass. Annoyed, he tells everyone to get back to work. They go to the door to see what's going on. Leaning against the door and trying to see, they cause laughter from the other colleagues. But Xiaoman shuts the door while there are bangs on the other side. Looking at Luo and Lan Bayer, she thinks with annoyance that she didn't expect such a star to be bossy in front of Luo. Lan Bayer says that she is ready to cooperate. Her agent will contact her later to discuss the terms, and Luo asks about the payment. Lan Bayer replies that there is no need to pay if he promises her one thing. Remembering how he promised the old man, Luo first asks what exactly she wants. She replies that she will invite him to lunch, and he must agree. Luo goes out to see Lan Bayer off. Before leaving, she reminds him not to forget about the promise, and he agrees, saying goodbye. Looking at him through the back window, it's like she's letting him know that he can't escape. After that, Luo hears a noise. It turned out to be his colleagues. Jostling went to him. The first one asks Luo to let him help him with this project. The second one argues that the first one came, and the third one guarantees that he will take responsibility. Only Luo got Lan Bayer's autograph. Looking at the whole scene, the headmaster seethes, wondering why Luo has such a relationship with Lan Bayer. He shouts that Luo did this on purpose, and a colleague tries to calm him down, suggesting that Luo is just fooling Lan Bear's head. The director responds sharply, then let her deceive her, because in this she is a master. She suggests finding an excuse to fire Lo. He cuts her off, telling her not to throw up such ideas, because today Lo solved the issue with a large client, and his dismissal will immediately raise questions. She gets lost, not knowing what to offer. Suddenly, he says that he will deal with it himself, because this is his first day at work, and he is already showing disrespect. The entire department is going to the restaurant tonight, so let Li Rui call Kai over to teach Luo a lesson, he continues, to which she enthusiastically agrees. The director, walking in front, calls everyone else to follow him, and when they see where they have come, they freeze in surprise. They found themselves in front of the largest entertainment center, Haiyue Villa. Luo hears the director being praised behind him, because they didn't expect him to invite them here. One of the colleagues suggests that they spend several $100,000 here, and the second admits that she only admired this building when she passed by, let alone entered. Lo thinks that you can go and get to know your colleagues better and understand who you can use. Suddenly, someone calls out to the director. It turns out to be his friend Kai, and the headmaster hurries over to him. Shaking hands with each other, the director asks where he currently works, and he replies that he is only doing some errands for the Biao. The director is surprised because Biao is the underground boss of Tongzhou and says that he is too cool, but he just waves it off. Kai says he heard that a new guy came to meet them today and asks to introduce them. The director points at Luo and says it's him and Xiaoman's boyfriend. Lo, apparently noticing what they're saying about him, lets out an exasperated sigh. Kai casually waves his hand and heads in Lo's direction. Others notice Kai and feel uneasy and wonder what this Wang Kai is doing here. Kai looks at Luo carefully and asks if he is Luo Chen, to which Lo abruptly replies by asking if they know each other. Without waiting for an answer, he adds that if they don't know each other, then don't block his way. Everyone freezes with surprise at his words. Kai glares in his mind that Lo is bold, but will he also be cool later? On the side, the director and his colleague are watching. She notes that Lo has just arrived and has already managed to provoke Kai, and he replies that it will be interesting. Everyone enters the restaurant and takes their seats. Raising his glass, Kai congratulates the director on the new car, to which the director pats him and tells him to stop. At this time, Xiaoman, Wulu asks how he met Lan Bear, to which Luo only says nothing. At this, Xiaoman raises her voice in anger. Lo coldly replies that it's none of her business, and she looks at him blankly. Kai notices them fighting and plans something in his head. He asks the director to go upstairs, but the director hesitates. Kai reassures him that the hall belongs to Biao, so he knows everything there. All he has to do is bring Lo, he adds. When they got up, they were surprised by the number of people. Kai explains that in the outer zone, the limit for open chips is 1,000, but in the inner zone, there is no limit on chips. One notes that Kai is well versed in this, and the other replies that it is not surprising because they play every weekend. The director gives the card to his woman with a balance of 50,000 and offers to try your luck. She hugs and thanks him, and Xiaoman feels humiliated. The director asks Luo if he and Xiaoman would like to play together. Lo's hand blocking says that here out of 10 games, 9 end in a loss. Kai grins and says, if there is no money, then so be it, his companion supports, adding that Lo just doesn't want to play and spoils the mood of others. Xiaoman pushes his hand away and irritably declares that he may not go, but she will go. Luo says that it's better for her not to go there, and Xiaoman snaps back that it's none of his business. She huffs angrily as she walks off to join her colleagues, and Lo just lets out a frustrated sigh. The headmaster and Kai are watching, certain that their target is already on the hook. And so the players gather, and there is tension between them before the game starts. The guy pushes the chips, announces doubling. One of the colleagues raises, and the others discard their cards. Xiaoman's colleague advises her that if the cards are bad, it's better to discard them. But Xiaoman, pushing the chips forward, says that he can also reveal the cards. Her words make everyone look at her in surprise. The dealer calls the showdown, and at that moment, Kai and the stranger exchange glances. Xiaoman has a royal flush and is told to pick up all the chips. She screams with joy. Watching her win, two men discuss how she raised from 3,000 to 20,000 in 5 rounds, and another wonders how many straight flushes she even had. The first one turns to Luo, says seeing Xiaoman's success, why don't they try it too? And the second one objects to why call him, and what if the director will deal with them? The first one replies that he likes people like Luo Chen and he knows Lan Bear, so he has great connections. Lo says that it is better not to touch the gambling ones. They can't beat such gamblers, and the fact that they lose is just a trick, Lo adds. One of the players, hearing Lo's words, notes that apparently not everyone in the sales department is a sycophant. Dismissing Lo's words, he says that they will win and leave immediately, and the second confirms. Waving at Lo, he says that since Lo won't go, they'll go together, and Lo just lets out a tired sigh. The dealer deals out the cards and a new game starts again. Suddenly, one of the players puts all their chips at once. From his move, all the players were taken aback and confused. Kai comes up behind this player and angrily whispers that they agreed to destroy the girl in white and he decided to beat them. The guy replies that he has a principle. When sitting down at the table, he is equally honest with everyone, and Kai asks if he is mocking or something, to which the guy with the sly look replies that anything is possible. Someone is shouting impatiently, "If he is not playing, then let him get out of here." As Kai leaves, he asks what else he can show him. Kai, approaching his companion, says that now he will play and let her take another 200,000. Lo tries to stop two colleagues. If they are left without money, the company will not save them. The first one replies that he is playing on credit. If he does not win, then he will have nothing to eat. And the second one says that he also plays in debt and can't always lose. The director approaches Kai and says that they wanted to use Xiaoman to frame Luo, and it turned out that they lost a lot of money, to which Kai says, "Shut up." Enraged, he shouts, bets everything and demands to open the cards, not believing how you can lose with such a hand. His companion tries to calm him down, reminding him that there is not much money left. A friend of Kai, laying out, says that he has a square. The dealer informs Kai that his debt exceeds the number of chips and asks him to exchange them to close the debt. Kai points a finger at him and accuses him of cheating, and everyone agrees, as he has already won more than 10 rounds. Suddenly, the guards warn Kai not to make a scene. Kai hotly asks them why they don't care if he cheats. Pointing to himself, he adds that he works for the Biao. At this moment, a calm voice is heard. The man turned out to be Dao Biao's main bodyguard and said, "Step forward," who just claimed to be working for Biao. Seeing Dao heading straight for him, Kai instinctively retreats, and the others quickly disperse. Kai trembles in front of him, calling him brother and trying to explain something. Dao even listens to him. A sharp slap knocks Kai off his feet. He falls to the floor and lowers his head in front of him. Dao asks when he decided that he had the right to call him brother. All of which Kai's acquaintances watch in shock. He dared because he dared to use the name Biao, continues Tao. Kai stutters, admits his mistake, and begs for forgiveness. And Tao looks at the two men next to him. Says he just heard the scam allegations. Kai points a finger at his friend, claiming that it's him, and Tao kicks Kai because it's not him he's asking. Then, looking at the director, he says that this gambling hall is the most honest in Tongzhou. The director hastily explains that this is not what they meant at all. It was just a misunderstanding. Tao cuts him off with a gesture and tells him not to tell him there's a misunderstanding. He sits down on a chair and tells everyone to keep playing. And he will keep an eye on Lao Li to ensure that he doesn't think it's unfair. As soon as the lost amount is returned to them, then the case will be closed. Two men report that they lost up to a penny, and he just grins. Dao says that he will lend them the money, but they will have to pay back 3 times as much. The men exchange glances. One doesn't understand how anyone can win so much. The other adds that Dao just wants them to dig their own grave. Dao flares up and menacingly asks if they don't want to play. His words make them tremble in front of him. But suddenly Luo approaches Dao and asks him to borrow 100,000. Everyone started to object, because he will have to return 300,000. Lo shrugs them off, confidently saying that you just need to win back. His words go straight to the heart of his colleague. Tao turns to Luo and asks him how much he will have to pay. Lo cuts him off abruptly and tells him to deal the cards. The dealer starts a new hand as directed, and Lao Li looks at Lo with obvious displeasure. Suddenly, Lo bets everything and says to show the cards, which made everyone around choke. Xiaoman shouts at him, asking him what he's doing and if he's even looked at his cards. The director also breaks down, saying that Lo wants to kill them, and Kai desperately thinks that they will definitely embarrass themselves today. Dao only grins that he's still decided to stand up for others. Lao Li shows his cards and he has 3 queens. Lo, with a smirk, apologizes and declares that he won. In his hand, Jack and King is a straight. The room freezes. One of his colleagues snorts that he was just lucky, but you can't count on that in Texas Hold'em poker. Lao Li, not believing his loss, wants to try again. After a few rounds, Lao Li was crushed, and Luo had already collected a bunch of chips. Lo turns to Dao and tells him that there's 1,400,000, all they lost, and Dao is silent and thinks about how he won every blind. Lao Li couldn't intentionally merge the game and the cards were dealt by his own person. Luo didn't have a chance to cheat. Lo tells him that he returns him 300,000, and they leave. But at that moment, someone says that the others can go, but he will stay. The underground boss Biao is approaching them, accompanied by bodyguards. He and Lo meet eyes and Lo doesn't understand what's going on. The others can't believe that this is really Hong Biao when they see him. Biao orders Tao to vacate the hall, to which he obeys without question. He tells everyone to get out of here immediately, except Lo. After his words, everyone looks at him in surprise. The director thanks him and assures him that they will leave immediately, and Kai grabs his companion's hand and hurriedly pulls her away. Noticing that the 3 of them are still here, Dao irritably orders them to immediately roll out of here. One of them wanted to object. But Lo calmly says that it's better for them to leave. Even if they stay, they still won't be of any help. The two men hesitate, but Xiaoman tells them to go. They came to the underground parking lot, and one of them indignantly says that they are not considered friends because Lo stood up for them, and they left. Xiaoman justifies herself by pointing out that Hong Biao was against Luo, and the second man silently agrees with her, and reassuring says that they can only hope that everything will be fine. Meanwhile, Luo asks Biao if he really wants him to stay here. Biao replies that he is interested in his card skills and just wants to chat with him. Lo sighs wearily and says they have nothing to talk about. Dao explodes and shouts, how dare he talk to Biao like that, but Biao stops him. Biao says that since Luo is so direct, he will also speak directly. He threateningly offers to either work for him or leave him with nothing. Lo laughs at his threat and asks what he wants to do to him. Immediately becoming serious, he says that there is no person capable of this. Biao, annoyed, notices that Lo doesn't seem to be working for him at all. Lo chuckles and asks again, work for him? And adds, who does he think he is anyway? Biao gets impatient and shouts that he doesn't appreciate his good attitude, and he calls Tao, who immediately understands his order. Tao throws a knife at him, shouting that he's been waiting for this moment for a long time, and Lo just grins. Lo looks at him and sees that he is shrouded in the blood and souls of other people. Apparently, he took a lot of lives. Seeing Luo's expression, Dao asks if he's really scared, but it's too late. He advises him in the next life to be more careful with those with whom he contacts. But Lo easily evades, says that on the contrary, there is no one who would dare to contact him. Tao turns his head sharply to look at Lo. Lo says with a slight smile that she returns his words to him. Focusing all his power on the tip of his finger, he casts the Dao away with a technique. After that, Luo notes to himself that Emperor Wujin's breathing has noticeably weakened until he finds the seeds. He will have to conserve his strength. The other bodyguards saw how he dealt with the Dao in one blow, and panicked and assumed that Luo was a top-level martial artist. Biao, keeping an outward calm, says that any master has a limit. They will take the number. In his mind, he decides that he needs to call for backup. If today's events are found out, then he won't be able to do business in Tongzhou anymore. Nervously starts calling. But they don't pick up the phone for a long time, and suddenly realizes how quiet it has become around him. Suddenly, Lo is right in front of him, and with a grin he asks if he's reached me. While Biao was trying to call, Luo had already killed all the bodyguards. When they finally picked up the phone on the other end, they asked what was going on. But Biao, trembling in fear of Luo, can't say a word. Taunting him, Lo tells him to answer. Biao just looks up, startled. Meanwhile, the man approaches the girl, asks if she called him. She replies that it looks like Biao is in trouble. Hanging up the phone tells him to get the car ready and they drive out. He immediately obeys and leaves. Biao admits that he underestimated Luo, who has abilities, but relying only on dexterity, he will not be able to be self-willed in Tongzhou. His men would arrive soon, even if there were 10 of Luo's kind, they still wouldn't be able to defeat them. Lo calmly replies that he then needs to hurry them up. Biao privately notes how arrogant Luo is after all. He's still young. Lo, grinning maliciously, offers to play something while they wait, and asks Biao if anything is known about 1000-7. Soon, the Biao people arrive at the place. Seeing the man, all respectfully greet him, calling him Master Yu. He asks one of the bodyguards what is going on in the casino and why they are not inside. He awkwardly replies that half an hour ago, Biao ordered them to clear the hall, so everyone left. Master Yu gets angry and slaps him in the face. When they go up to the casino, they see that all the bodyguards are lying beaten and think, who did Biao offend so much? Suddenly there is a shout, and they turn their heads in the direction of the shout. Biao holds his face and yells that no matter who he is, Luo will definitely die today. Lo notices that Tom still doesn't seem to have enough since he keeps snapping at him. Biao shouts it doesn't fit. The girl sees Biao and calls out to him. Hearing her and seeing Master Yu, rushes to them, asking them to save him. But the girl notices Luo and is surprised to recognize her teacher. Lo, too, noticing his student, says to himself that just Biao Materia turns to Luo, reminding him how he promised to kill him today. He declares that Luo is nothing compared to Master Yu, but his speech is cut short by the disciple's punch. She screams in a rage, how dare he do that? Everyone looks at her in surprise. As she bows to Luo, she apologizes for not keeping track of her dog and thereby insulting teacher Luo. Biao can't believe that this guy is Sister Ye's teacher. She tells Biao that Luo is her teacher and a dear guest of the Yi family. He even met her grandfather in person, she adds, and he emphasizes that he should be addressed only as Mr. Lo. Biao falls to his knees and, trembling, asks for forgiveness. He admits that he did not know who he was messing with and begs for leniency. Luo walks by without saying a word, and Biao feels cold inside, certain that this is the end. The student wanted to justify herself and speak for him, but Lo stops her with a gesture and explains that since Biao is her man, then it's up to her to deal with him. Overjoyed, she immediately turns on Biao. ordering him to immediately thank Luo for showing mercy and be glad that he is still alive. Biao, almost without paying, hastily thanks him, and the student hurries after Luo. Out of breath, she calls out to him, and Lo stops and turns around. She puts her hands on her knees and tries to catch her breath. Then he takes out an invitation to the Tongzhou auction and says that Grandpa asked me to give it to him. Lo asks in surprise why he needs it. It reminds me of the wooden box from the painting when they first met. He remembers the box with the spiritualized seed and asks what's wrong with it. She reassuringly replies that nothing is wrong with her, just my grandfather noticed that he was interested in her. Therefore, he wanted to invite him to the auction, because that wooden box was originally intended to be put up for this auction. Luo privately notices that the Ye family is trying too hard to win him over to their side. This can cause them a lot of trouble, he continues. Nevertheless, he accepts the invitation and says to pass on his grandfather's gratitude. She tells him she'll pick him up tomorrow morning, but Lo says there's no need. Taking a taxi, he adds that he will get there himself. Meanwhile, while Bio's people are trying to heal him, Dao still asks in disbelief if that guy is really Sister Ye's teacher. Biao tells them not to ask and admits that they really were defeated today. He orders other subordinates to be respectful when they see Luo and tells Tao to prepare expensive gifts, and later they will personally come to him with apologies. And he tells everyone that with such a person it is impossible to remain enemies, and everyone unconditionally agrees. The next morning, Lo arrives at the Amaha Hotel. The receptionist just wanted to greet him, but Lo shoves the invitation letter in his face without further ado. The latter immediately bows and respectfully points the way inside, telling him to pass. One of the guests informs Chow that he noticed a new face here and heard that he has great connections, and asks to learn more about him. He looks around, says that they are all almost familiar here. How could a stranger appear here? Suddenly, he spots Luo Chen, wondering how he even ended up at this auction. Annoyed, Liu tells him that he knows him. He happily asks what kind of influential family this person belongs to. Chow irritably declares that Luo is just a redneck, but he does not believe, because today is a private auction. A person without connections could not get here. He is angry, claims that he saw him 2 days ago and swears that he is a redneck. Liu replies that if so, then you don't need to get acquainted with him. However, he notices that Chen's tone is clearly not happy. He replies that Luo dared to take the girl away from him, and how should he treat him? Liu is surprised that someone dared to take the girl away from him. He adds supportfully that it will help him deal with Lo. Lo was sitting in the hall, calmly looking through some papers. Liu Yi turned to him, remarked that he hadn't seen him here before, and asked who he was with. Law didn't react, as if he hadn't heard the question at all. Fuming at the slight, Liu got up from his seat. Then Chow intervenes and turns to Lo because his friend asked the question, "Is he mute or deaf?" Luo calmly quotes. The wind suddenly blew and raised ripples on the spring waters of the pond. The other two look at him in disbelief and Liu asks if his head is okay, but Chow just shrugs. Suddenly, the unknown girl continued the same line, adding, "And what does it matter to you, my dear sir?" She then explains what he wants to say, but what Liu asks is none of his business. Law, folding up the papers, says with a grin that such people should have studied more. Otherwise, they have to explain even the insult through an interpreter. The girl chuckled softly, and Liu and Chow trembled with anger. Liu Yi, in a rage, shouts at him to stop throwing out ancient phrases, because he can take his life at any time. Suddenly, the man intervenes and asks, "What's the matter?" Liu, referring to him as Manager Li, claims that this unknown person snuck in here and made a fuss. He turns to Lo and asks him to show him the invitation, and Lo asks why only he is being checked. The manager replies that he knows these people and therefore there is no need to check, and he had never seen it here before. If Luo didn't show the invitation letter, then he would have to leave this auction. Lo holds out his invitation letter with a grin. When Liu and Chow saw him, they snatched out the invitation and began to claim that it was fake and that he was only pretending. Manager Li reassures them that this may affect their reputation and suggests that they go up to the upper hall while he deals with it. Liu accepts his offer and leaves, leaving everything to the manager. Li then turns to Lo and declares that he has done enough to preserve his reputation. Today, it doesn't matter if he has an invitation or not, he has to leave anyway, he adds. If he is kicked out with a scandal, it will be an ugly situation, he continues. Suddenly, there is an exclamation from behind who dared. Turning around, Li was stunned to see the elder and his family. The elder asks displeased, how dare he expel the dear guest he invited? The latter will tremble and start stuttering. Li looks at Luo in confusion and haltingly asks if this is his guest. But Luo thought that if it wasn't for them, he would have had to spend the rest of the emperor's strength. The grandfather and granddaughter immediately approached him, anxiously asking if everything was all right. Lo reassuringly replies that everything is fine and what could have happened to him. When the steward heard that the elder was addressing Luo as master, he knew that he was finished. The elder harshly chastises Li for being inconsiderate. Master Yu grabs the manager, who quickly admits that he was wrong and begs for mercy. In response, the elder angrily orders him to be silent. Lo says it's nothing and it's not worth getting angry about. The elder orders Lao Yu to deal with him, and he obeys without objection. Then he motioned for Lo to move on. While Chao and Liu were drinking, Chao notes that the manager has played into their hands. Liu scornfully replied that some redneck decided to compete with them. Suddenly, Father Chao tells them to behave properly. Today, Elder Ye has invited a guest. He replies that they all know respected Ye. How can they provoke their people? Also, given their father's position, then esteemed Ye should also show them a bit of courtesy. Suddenly, two bodyguards appear in front of them, and Father Chao only has time to ask who they are. How is an order issued from somewhere to kick them out of here? They are all roughly pushed out of the hall. They try to object. Chao's father tries to ask Chief Hu what's going on, but even before they finish listening, they close the door in his face. Chen cautiously approaches his father, intending to ask him something. But in response, he sharply slaps his face, which knocks him off his feet. In a rage, the father asks who he managed to offend. For so many years in this circle, he was so disgraced for the first time. Chao thinks to himself that they didn't offend anyone but Luo Chen. Is this really his reputation? But immediately discards this thought because this is absolutely impossible. The auctioneer hits the hammer and announces that number 23 has purchased a pair of hairpins for 170,000 yuan, and their employees will complete the transaction later. Then, they show the next lot. Lo notes to himself that only works of art and antiques are displayed here. The elder whispers softly as if apologizing, that the man will come soon. Making trouble again, he adds, and Lo just waves it off, making sure that the old man clearly has business with him. The old man admits that this man has been with him for more than 10 years, but he never suspected him. If then Lo did not recognize the fake, he would have remained in the dark. At this point, an elderly man approaches them, apologizing for being late. The elder and Luo exchange glances and brief nods. Noticing Luo, the guest asks who this young man is. Old man Ye replies that this is his new friend who has a talent in the field of item examination, and today he had the opportunity to invite him to this place. Inwardly, he chuckles, thinking that esteemed Ye seems to have completely lost his mind. Who would have thought that he would entrust the assessment to some youngster? Realizing that they are, in fact, colleagues, the old man apologizes to Lo for not paying attention, and Lo only accepts the apology with a smile. However, at that moment, discontentedly thinks that with his qualifications and experience, calling Luo a colleague is like flattering him. In addition, he did not even respond with a compliment. You will need to teach him a lesson, he continues. The auctioneer announces that the next lot is one of the main auction lots and asks you to look at the screen. This is an ancient bronze sword of the Eastern Zhou era, during which period the skill of bronze smiths reached its peak. The elder remarks to Elder Ye that the item is rare and well preserved. There are almost no such items on the market, and the starting price is not high. But Lo cuts him off and tells him to take his time, that the thing is a little dubious. He coldly replies that in his decades of experience, he has seen enough, and such artifacts go through many checks before being put up for auction. Lo calmly and briefly informs that this is a fake. Old man Tang seethes inwardly. How dare this boy talk such nonsense in front of him, as if one glance is enough to tell you right away. The student at this moment catches deja vu and thinks why this situation is so familiar to her. The elder declares that one talent is not enough. You need skill and years of practice such as he, Tang Zhong's. Lo answers why they need this argument, whether it's easier to buy it and see it, and he doesn't mind if several more organizations conduct an expert examination. Tan laughs at his suggestion and says, why would they wait for other people's expertise? Then he turns to Elder Ye and tells him to confirm that he is the best appraiser in Tongzhou, and Elder Ye nods curtly. Elder Ye calls his granddaughter and tells her to announce the price. And turning to Luo, he says that it's not that he doesn't trust him, but in the field of expertise, Old Tang was never wrong. Old man Tang scoffs at his attempt to measure up to him in his field and points out that he has spent more years with esteemed Ye than he even lives. The auctioneer's voice echoed through the hall of a 3 million bronze antique sword. She pauses and addresses the audience, waiting for new bids. Granddaughter Elder. Ye shouts 5 million while holding up her number. The auctioneer accepts the bid and announces that the guest of honor raises the price to 5 million. The two girls whisper that this is esteemed Yi's place and assume that no one will dare outbid the bet. The auctioneer ends the auction with the third blow of the hammer and declares the lot sold for 5 million. Old Tang reports that he has recently been studying materials on the Zhou period and that such a sword has become rare even among the aristocracy. Hinting at Lo adds that today almost made a mistake. In the future, to buy such an item at this price will be almost impossible. Annoyed that Luo is ignoring him, Tang gets up from his seat and says that he was only being polite out of respect for Elder Ye, but didn't expect such ignorance and repeated provocations. He only has at least 100 licenses issued by the association, he continues, and they don't know anything about Luo's merits. But at this moment, Yu comes up to old man Ye and whispers something. Elder Clapping says, "That's well said." She asks him sternly how he can explain it, and shows the report of the expert examination, which indicates that the bronze sword is recognized as a fake. Tan does not understand how this is possible, because all items pass a multi-level check. Here the granddaughter declares that he deliberately slipped forgeries to his grandfather, taking advantage of his trust. He says not to slander him and asks, what is the benefit to him from this? She angrily replies that she just sent people to investigate about the sword and the fake painting from last time. The person who gave these things away was him, Old Man Tang, she states. She continues that he bribed appraisers to get things to auction, and then persuaded them to buy them, making a profit. Since he won't admit it, he suggests that they bring in the appraiser they agreed with as well. He falls to the floor and begins to justify himself with family problems and an urgent need for money. But immediately shutting him up, she reminds him of the 12 stores given to him by her grandfather, which should have lasted him for several years, and asks why he did it. He admits trembling that he can't say. The elder exhales wearily and tells Lao Yu to lead him away. The old man approaches Lo as if to thank him, but Lo just says that everything is fine. The granddaughter, still angry, says that this man worked for him for several decades. He provided him with luxury and turned out to be ungrateful. The elder replies that most likely he did not do it for money. Someone bribed him. She wonders who might have lured him away, and the elder suggests that his old enemy is back, so he might have to bother Lo. At this point, he realizes what it looks like and the reason why the Ye family is so kind to him. The auctioneer announces the last lot and asks everyone to look at the screen. Property right for a plot in the Panlongwan district with an area of 120 square kilometers with a starting price of 1 million. The student explains that a few years ago, real estate was worth more than 10 billion. And now one headache. Lo asks, why so? She answers because all 3 developers in the area died under mysterious circumstances on the 7th day. And not just them, but the construction crew as well. When the corpses were found, they all looked extremely gruesome and frightening, but there were no small wounds or illnesses on their bodies. In addition, another victim was found in the area yesterday, a dead taxi driver. Lo hears about the taxi driver and thinks about it. The auctioneer thinks that if no one makes a bid, they will have to deal with the failed auction. 2 girls discuss how before it was an expensive plot, and today they give it away almost for nothing, but no one takes it. The second one says that only those who do not value life can buy it. At the moment of the last hammer blow, Lo declares that he takes it for 1 million. The room falls silent, and all eyes turn to Lo. One girl is startled to see that someone has decided to place a bet, while the other wonders where this guy came from. The auctioneer is also lost. She is whispered from the side, scolding why she froze. It is necessary to accept the bid faster. When she wakes up, she calls the auction, counting out the first bid. A woman watching from the side notes with interest that if this person stays there for at least 7 days, then she will get acquainted with him. The disciple and the elder immediately object, reminding him that what she just told him is not a joke and he should seriously think about it. Lo calmly lets them know that he's going to be fine and they don't have to worry. The student looks worriedly at her grandfather, who just shakes his head in silence. Suddenly, Lo throws a bank card at her, and she deftly grabs it. Lo, passing by, says that there is 1 million on the card, and asks to complete all the formalities for him. After he adds that he has other things to do and thanks in advance, the student hurriedly asks where he is going. He calmly replies that in Panlongwan. On the way, Lo notices that the area, despite its proximity to the city, looks so deserted it looks like the news didn't lie. But he still wants to find out how many evil forces and evil spirits are hiding there. As soon as he gets out of the car, the oppressive atmosphere hits him. Lo sees an impure atmosphere surrounding the unfinished building. With one movement of his hand, he dispels the condensed filth. He wonders how so much dark energy can accumulate here at noon, when the sun's chi is especially pure. Probably this is what remains of the previous developers. The main construction is completed. A lot of money must have been invested here, he continues. And yet, the feeling that something is wrong here does not leave him. The patron spirit of the east bows to the land of the patron spirit of the west. The mountain is high. The lonely wind is raging, he muses. This place initially attracted the souls of the dead, and the high-rise has experienced several bloody deaths, so there are often harbingers of trouble, he concludes. And he understands that after receiving it, to make a lot of effort to transform, he is at this moment called by a strange woman. She warns him that something is wrong inside and he can't go there. He adds that he should listen to her advice, otherwise he will never be able to leave, even if he wants to. Lo notices that the earth is shrouded in spirits and does not feel hatred. She gropes for something in her bag and says that this drawing was left over from her son, who worked here as a builder. Holding out the sheet, she explains that the territory is huge, and if he gets lost, then let him follow the path indicated here. The blueprint turns out to be the work of a master builder, and while Lo is looking at it, his aunt disappears without a trace. After taking another look at the building, he still decides to go inside. He walks inside, pacing calmly through the empty concrete space. A circle of blood flashes in front of Lo with a hissing hum. The red lines intertwine, and he realizes that everything is as expected. He suggests that the damage to the feng shui current in these buildings was deliberately done by the designer. It's probably for the sake of creating a large seal that collects spirits, he thinks. When he touches it, he feels that there are 9 evil spirits connected and acting against the will of the sky. He grins, marveling at the madness of the evil spirit. But suddenly an order comes from behind to raise your hands. It turns out to be 3 policemen, one ordered not to move and the other pointed a gun at him. Lo, turning around indignantly, realizes that there has been some interference. She raises her voice, demanding to know who she is, and then tells me to raise my hands again. But as if he didn't hear, Lo continues his ritual, which stuns them. Another policeman calls out to him in exasperation, asking if he can hear what is being said to him and what strange movements he is making. She says she's announcing that she's starting a report, and if Lo doesn't respond, a warning shot will follow. Just as she's counting, a gunshot rings out nearby. The bullet passes right next to Lo's head and hits the wall. Lo, turning around with disgust, inwardly calls them a bunch of fools. She angrily tells him what would have happened if he had hit it. He replies that the guy did not follow her orders, so he should have given him a warning. In response, she irritably calls him a blockhead. The man shouts, "Why did he come here? Doesn't he know about the murders in this area and that the area has been sealed off for a long time?" Meanwhile, Luo figures that the Emperor's remaining forces should be enough to subdue them. But then he thinks he probably won't be strong enough to deal with this thing, and understands that now the conflict with law enforcement agencies is unwise and decides to act on the situation. The girl also notes to herself that they are about the same age as Lo, but he does not panic at all at gunpoint and thinks about how psychologically resistant he is. The man seethes and threatens that the next shot will hit him, and Lo says with a smile that he is a fan of the supernatural and came here to make a video. The police officer does not believe his words. In his experience, it is these people who are involved in serial murders, the killers who return to the scene of the incident. The girl stops him, reminding him that he should not pass sentence as he pleases because they are obliged to rely on evidence, and he only quietly agrees. She introduces local government employee number 047, Jia Jinjin, and asks them to proceed with the proceedings. Notes that the situation is special, and if his words are confirmed, he will be released immediately. Luo wonders if they're asking people to cooperate with them like this. She is angry and says that this is not a request but an order and puts handcuffs on him. Turning around, tells everyone that they are back in control, and Lo, accompanied by the police, is walking along a narrow stone path. The girl walking in front stops abruptly. A colleague runs up to her and asks what happened. She replies that something is wrong. Pointing to the substructure, says that they have been walking for half an hour, but they have returned back. He looks at the phone and thinks that there is a malfunction in navigation, but she replies that this is impossible because they were going north and did not change direction. Lo sits down on a tree stump and says wearily that if they keep going like this, they will definitely not get out. He explains that in this territory there are 9 spirits that spoil feng shui. They cover 9 out of 24 hours. Only from 7 in the morning to 1 o'clock all entrances are open. She waves it off irritably, calling it superstition. She adds that even if there are no problems with him, she will have to deal with his ideological upbringing. Her colleague scoffingly says that it is impossible to re-educate such people. According to his certificates, he came from the village and probably did not even go to the middle class. She scolds him for his expressions, reminding him that even suspects should be treated with minimal respect. And now it was nightfall, but they were still in Panlongwang. Losing his patience, the man says that they have already spent 4 hours on the road, which took half an hour, and again found themselves in the same place. Clutching her head, she adds that they have tried everything. Is there really something in this place? But she abruptly cuts him off, saying that this is impossible. They made a mistake somewhere. Lo notes to himself that the girl stubbornly dragged them here until the evening, already around 5 or 7 in the evening. Those guys can appear at any time. He holds out his hands to the girl and tells her to remove the handcuffs. Explains that if they want to get out, they have to do as he says. At that moment, out of the darkness, headlights suddenly shine on them from somewhere. A taxi pulls up to them. A suspicious driver asks them where they are going. The police approach the car and ask the driver how he came here at all and why he is here so late. He explains that he drove a person to a neighboring city. It is not profitable to return empty, driving by. He decided to stop by. Suddenly, someone is there. One of them suggests that you try to go with him because they can't always go in circles. He thinks about it and notes that it makes sense. He tells the driver if he can give them a ride to the parking lot where they left the official car, and the driver offers to sit down without any objections. He is about to sit down and calls out to the girl, telling her to get in the car faster. But Lo tells her not to go unless she wants to die, and that the driver is already dead. A shiver runs down her spine, and the man asks her what's going on and why they're hesitating. He decides to ask the driver to wait a bit, and suddenly his eyes catch on the ID card. Reading the name, he notes that it seems familiar. He remembers being told that a body was found in the morning in the Panlongwan area. It hits him right away and a chill runs through him. His features contort, and he turns eerily to say yes. The girl says angrily that if he talks about spirits again and interferes with the execution of the law, she will immediately arrest him. The next moment, a sudden scream is heard. She leaves with a gun and orders Lo to stand there and not move until she comes down to take a look. Lo also thinks that words are hard to save someone who is destined to die. A man falling to the ground, stuttering, calls for help. The monster crawls out of the car and asks where he is going, because he will give him a ride, and he screams in horror to get rid of him. The girl points her weapon and declares that assaulting a person in the course of execution is a serious crime. Hearing this, the monster turns to her and eerily calls her beautiful. She does not understand what kind of creatures it is. Shivering retreats, but another monster appears behind her. At this time, Lo takes off the handcuffs, notes to himself that the feeling of complete restriction is still difficult to get used to. He thinks that after returning, he will have to seriously search for spiritual seeds and throws the handcuffs aside. Something is rapidly approaching him from behind. It was that spirit connected to the earth. He asks her what is the matter. She asks to help those young people because they will die. Lo abruptly turns away and refuses. But the spirit persistently appears in front of him, blocking the way. Luo irritably tells her that it's not morning. If she doesn't want to be eaten away by the evil aura and turn into evil spirits, she should immediately disappear. She replies that he is able to understand that blueprint, and there must be a way to save them. And she asks him, because you can't let people die here. Luo coldly declares that he has no reason to reveal his secret trump card here and chases her away. Suddenly, there's an explosion from behind. The girl, having escaped from the clutches of the monster, is horrified to recognize in him Lao Li's partner. Her co-worker, pinned to the ground, calls out to her and asks her to save him. She doesn't hesitate to shoot the monster. After being injured, the monster unhooks itself and she rushes to her partner. But when he sees the creatures approaching again, he pushes them away with force. She falls painfully to the ground. Her colleague, forgetting about her, runs away in a panic, screaming for help. Two monsters are slowly approaching her at once. She shivers and stutters, yelling at them to stay away, but still fires a few bullets at one of them. The shots hit exactly the target. The creature staggers but remains on its feet. She is already crying with fear, does not understand how this is possible. After all, it hit her right in the heart. The next moment, the creature swings at her. In desperation, she thinks that she must have made a mistake somewhere. The arc of impact cuts through space, hitting monsters. This turned out to be Luo's handiwork. He calmly dispels this creature. The monster, who was once a policeman, trembling, asks who he is. Lo just coldly says that he gives him 3 seconds to remember when he was a human. The creature, not understanding anything, asks to stop. Lo dispels it, calmly informs that time is up. While she is still not fully aware of what has happened, Lo tells her to follow him. She tries to get up, but her leg feels like it's twisted. With an exasperated sigh, he lifts her up in his arms. She only wants to protest, but he immediately shuts her up. So he carries her silently through the dark forest. She decides to ask him who he is, how he removed the handcuffs, and what he did with these two. Lo says that there are too many questions. He only agrees to answer one, so she should think carefully. After a short pause, she asks how they can get out of here. He remembers the seal that feeds on death, holds the souls of the dead, and the spider lily marks this place. And just as the spirit said that everyone who was killed here becomes an evil spirit, when the number of evil spirits reaches 90, the king of evil spirits will incarnate. Even if his skill level became even higher, it wasn't worth hoping to get out of here unscathed, the spirit had added at the time. Lo grins, realizing that she wants to force him to save them like this. He notes that, judging by what he has just encountered, this seal will not last very long. Even Sama will inevitably turn into evil spirits, but this will not affect him in any way, he adds. But she says, what if this magic seal also holds back the dragon veins? Soon they come to a lone wooden house. Lo kicks the door open and steps inside. He puts her on her feet, telling her to get off, and he says, taken aback, be careful. She looks around and tries to figure out what kind of place it is. Sitting down on a chair, she confusedly asks why he brought her here. Lo tells her to keep her voice down and tells her that they won't be able to get out of here tonight, which makes her numb. Through the window, they can see a red line of light flashing in the middle of the forest. Lo activates the technique and says that she will stay here tonight. He says not to leave the house until dawn. She demands an explanation and asks the reason, and Lo quips that he doesn't have a proper explanation. He adds that this is just superstition. She is overwhelmed and doesn't know what to say. She hadn't expected him to be so vindictive. Looking back on what happened that day, She still can't believe that supernatural powers really exist. She decides that tomorrow she will submit a petition to the main directorate to raise the investigation to the highest level and make everything secret clear. Suddenly noticing that Lo is about to leave, she hurriedly asks where he is going. Lo, already leaving the house, calmly replies that he is going to save her partner. She asks, confused and hopeful, that he will be back after all. Lo leaves without answering, slamming the door behind him. Outside, Lo notes that the spirit connected to the earth did not lie. As he holds the seed, he thinks that even though his divine chi is not awakened, but judging from how this spiritual seed is being revived, there really are dragon veins here. If initially each evil spirit would have needed to damage at least 10 evil spirits in order to activate the seal. As the monsters rapidly approach him from behind, he continues to reflect that now, due to the influence of the dragon veins, only half of this amount is enough to complete the ritual. Deftly dodging the attacking spirit, he remembers the data given by Xia Jingjing. According to her, there are only 43 victims so far, including Law from the police. A total of 44 people, not enough of the last evil spirit. If at least one person turns into evil spirits, then things will get out of hand, he concludes, and scatters the creature in front of him. It was a good thing that Xia Jingjing had taken refuge in the hut, but the Emperor's remaining strength should be enough to prevent the evil spirits from even approaching. Now the main problem remained the missing guy, and the hand calls the evil spirits to attack him, and all at once pounce on him, and he hopes that he will have time. At this time, a sealed pillar stands in front of Commander Zhou, exuding an ominous scarlet aura. In the next instant, the king of evil spirits begins to incarnate behind him. Meanwhile, Xia Jingjing calls her father. The father starts shouting, asking where she ran off to, and it's already 11:30 at night, and she's still not home. She calms him down by reminding him that she texted him that she's on an overtime shift and that she won't be coming home today. But he interrupts, saying that this is nonsense because he is now in the department and found out that she arbitrarily exceeded her authority and headed the group. He gives her 30 minutes or they'll all be suspended, including her boss. She's just about to explain how she immediately drops the phone. Cursing angrily, she kicks the chair she was sitting on. Then he notices that his leg doesn't hurt anymore. Looking at the door, she thinks about what to do. She remembers that the man said that you can't go out until dawn. However, if she stays here, then her professional career will end there. But she remembers that Confucius didn't talk about supernatural things. Deciding that come what may, she reaches for the door handle. As soon as she opens the door a little, a spirit flies in. It turns out to be that spirit connected to the earth, and she hurriedly closes the door. She mutters to herself that she can't go outside, and that this girl is a good girl. She has a celestial with her. She needs to be protected. The girl turns to her cautiously and asks who is she. She asks if she sees her, and the girl replies in surprise, not understanding what is strange here. The aunt notes to herself that the girl has not seen her before, and involuntarily thinks that Lo did something to her. The girl notices her bag, screams sharply, and the spirit looks at her in surprise. Shivering and stammering, she asks how this is even possible. At this time, Commander Zhou runs away from the evil spirits, shouting for help. But right in front of him, another monster suddenly appears. Caught between two evil spirits, he desperately shouts out that they do not respect military morals at all. Gathering his strength, he accepts that today, one way or another, he will die. Therefore, he decides to fight to the end. He rushes at the creature with tears in his eyes, and with all his strength, he hits the monster with his fist. The creature dissipates, and Zhou thinks for a moment that it was weak. Or is he that strong, he thinks happily? In the next instant, Lo abruptly pulls him back by the shirt and throws him to the side. Luo pierces the monster with his power, and it instantly dissipates. Approaching the pillar, Lo says that the hidden dragon has coiled up, and evil spirits are hiding behind the mountain range, relying on immature dragon veins. Only one sacrifice is needed to unite the accumulated souls and restore life. Only he made a mistake in choosing a place, since this site belongs to him and cannot just leave such a pest as him. And these dragon veins will be the first nutrient to awaken his divine chi. Lo raises his hand, activates the seed, and energy begins to gather around it. A bright red glare can be seen through the cracks. Outside, the police are combing the area for Xia Jingjing's group, and their boss says they have to find them. The two discuss that Xia Jingjing is from a well-known family and resent her action, believing that she just wanted to prove her independence. One thinks that with her position, it would not be better to find a groom early, and the other asks if he has a chance. He replies that he has a chance only in his distant dreams. At this moment, evil spirits silently appear in front of him. His partner, trembling, tries to warn him, but he only looks blankly, and the monster is already leaning towards him. There's a high-pitched scream that makes the other cops jump. As soon as the monster kills it, a red line of light is drawn from different places, and a giant ritual circle unfolds over the place, closing into a dome seal. At the same time, something is rapidly approaching Lo. In her memories, the girl asks again that her son disappeared a week ago. My aunt says that he doesn't pick up the phone and doesn't answer messages either. She is very worried about him. Studying the data, the girl sees that his name is Zhao Jusheng. He is 29 years old, graduated from an architectural university, worked as a chief engineer for the design of a hotel in the Panlongwan district, which she did not expect at all. The woman says that her husband died early, and her son had to help her, but he never created any cause for concern. He used to call every 2 days, and now they haven't been in touch for several days. The girl reassures her that after registering the data and confirming that there are no errors, they will be able to request video monitoring and assures her that they will find it quickly. My aunt, about to leave, bows and apologizes for the trouble she has caused. When she is already leaving, the girl calls out to her. She turns around and asks, "What's the matter?" She says that she has only one question. Judging by her son's data, their family should have good living conditions. The aunt answers with a smile that her son earned money without sparing himself, and how can she spend it? Later, the girl in a raised voice asks the chief why they do not give the authority to investigate, because the cameras show that the person disappeared near the Panlongwan district. He replies that she also knows that Panlongwan is a strange place. It has long been sealed, and it is not known when this ban will be lifted. Adds that it's been 10 days since the disappearance and it doesn't bode well. She is angry, says not to invite trouble, and that they had only a mother and son in the family. They were each other's support. In addition, people disappear in the territory under their jurisdiction and they must find them. He, too, losing patience, says to call his father if he agrees, and he will immediately apply for a temporary lifting of the ban and allocate investigators to her. She does not understand, asks, "And for this you need to call Dad." Their people disappear. That does not bode well. Turning away, he says, "Then let her look for another way." He wouldn't dare take on such a responsibility. She leaves, stating that then she will go and ask for the authority to investigate. He then informs her that the woman will not come again, so she may not bear the psychological burden. On the way, she notices a corpse being carried. She goes to Commander Joe, asks if it's a corpse, he confirms it, and says that the body was found by fishermen on the beach in the morning. He adds that according to preliminary findings, the place of death is located in the Panlongwan district, and these things were found with the deceased on the spot. Showing the photo, he says that there was still this photo, and then asks to search for data on the deceased. Shivering, she recognizes the photograph as that of her aunt and her son. Fighting back tears, he mentally promises them that he will definitely conduct a thorough investigation into this case. Meanwhile, Lo is attacked by evil spirits, but he manages to block the blow with his hand. He is thrown back slightly, and Joe shouts in concern that he should never die. An unfamiliar voice says that his flesh and blood were separated and imprisoned in the grave. He was imprisoned for more than 600 years. An evil spirit in armor appears in front of them and asks if they know what kind of torment it is. Commander Joe, trembling in fear, doesn't fully understand what he's talking about. The monster turns to Lo and says that he dared to speak arrogantly about the madcap attempts to take over his powers, that he had been saving up for 100 years. It decides that its crime deserves the most severe punishment and takes a swing at it. But Lo again manages to block his blow. The evil spirits are surprised how he was able to avoid hitting twice in a vulnerable place. Still, it hits hard and slams Lo into the wall. The evil spirits say that if he had appeared a couple of days earlier, he could have been considered a worthy opponent. Luo replies that he originally wanted to wait until the spiritual seed was fully restored, and then gradually channel the spiritual forces to awaken. He admits that it's rare to meet a good target, and now is a good time to test your abilities after you wake up. The evil spirits do not believe his words and scoff that Luo has now awakened his divine qi. After all, it took him more than 30 years to awaken the divine qi with the help of the great power of yin. Luo clasps his hands and releases the power of divine qi. The evil spirits furiously rush at him, wanting him dead. Law focuses his powers on the tips of his fingers and hits them at the evil spirits. It does not have time to react. Evil spirits, restoring a torn shoulder, denies that this is even possible. A new arm grows instantly, and it tells Luo that he is just a shell of an ordinary person. Even if he has magical abilities, it is still impossible to awaken in an instant. Lo scoffs at the fact that he doesn't believe him, and suggests that he try again. Releasing their powers, the evil spirits pounce on him, thinking that Lo is trying to bluff. The evil spirits do not even have time to approach, as Lo again hits him with a powerful force. He has the true qi of the quintessential yang, Ono understands, and still asks in disbelief who he is. Lo walks up to him and asks if he now believes that he has truly awakened. With a slight smile, he adds that he shouldn't be so surprised because he awakened the divine qi 1,000 years ago and it was easy to repeat it again. But even then, it only took him a minute to wake up. The evil spirit says irritably, he should not be arrogant. He has just awakened and will only be able to use true qi a few times. If he couldn't kill him in 3 strikes, then he would at least make sure that he died with him. Lo says how naive he is and hits it again. but it immediately dissipates, and Lo assumes that it is an illusion made out of a puppet corpse. The evil spirits running away think that he endured 600 years of torment in order to finally find a new life. Could he so unwisely risk his life for some person? The police hear some sounds, turn around, and loudly ask who is here. Evil spirits direct their power at them and turn them into evil spirits. After him, he throws that he will devour all the people who got here, and then he will definitely return to get even with him. At this time, Xia Jingjing can't believe her eyes that this is the right woman, and says that she saw exactly what she calms her down and says that even though she is dead, she is still different from the evil spirits who are not devoid of intelligence. The girl, still feeling guilty, apologizes for the fact that they were engaged in this investigation too carelessly. Her aunt pats her hand gently, saying that the decision to go to Panlongwan was her own and has nothing to do with her. After all, she knows that she treated this matter in good faith. Otherwise, she would not have ended up here, and the girl only quietly agrees. The girl asks what's going on in Panlongwan, because she must know something about it. What my aunt wanted to say was that the real instigator of this whole thing was actually… But she is suddenly interrupted by a cry for help, and they look around startled. They see the police through the window, and the girl wonders how they got here. One of them knocks on the window with his fist and asks to open the door faster. He recognizes Xia Jingjing and pretends that he is from the Anping district, that they came by agreement to look for her, and asks her to open it quickly. She reflects that she was told not to open the door before, but when she sees that her aunt allows it, she thinks that everything should be fine. She quickly opens the door and tells us to get inside quickly. He only has time to cross the threshold, as he is immediately grabbed by the head. In the next moment, the evil spirits appear at the threshold, kill the policeman, smiling ominously, and thank you for opening the door. The aunt shouts that it's a trap, and the girl instinctively steps back. But he quickly manages to grab her by the throat. Ono squeezes her by the throat, lifts her up into the air, and thinks that that bespectacled scoundrel deliberately set up a magic barrier here to protect this girl. And he thinks that if this is true, then it definitely has benefits. But at this moment, she quickly grabs his hand and takes it in a painful reception. He instinctively lets go of her grip for a brief moment, and she manages to pull away. But immediately, using magic, he grabs her and forces her to the ground. In the next instant, it unleashes its power to kill her, and admits that her courage is commendable. Suddenly, her aunt's spirit appears in front of her, exposing itself to the blow. She remembers calling her son on the phone. She asks him how he is doing, and reminds him that in a few days the new year is coming, because he said that in a few days he will find out what date he is coming, and she will prepare food for him. He replies that he won't be able to come for New Year's. She is upset and asks that he will not come again this year. He exhales wearily and says that he has a lot of things to do, so he won't come. She replies that if there is a lot to do, it does not mean that you cannot go home, and then spoil your health. Remembering that it was at the Mid-Autumn Festival, she lived in the apartment that he rented for her for 3 days, but saw him only once. He comes, eats, and leaves again, and she doesn't know if he's going to work or if he's a serf. He breaks down and says that now everyone is ready to exchange their lives for money. If it wasn't for him, they would live forever in the village, and all their lives others would treat them with disdain. Moving to Tongzhou costs tens of millions. Who will pay for it? Does she really want him to rely on the pennies she earns with her scams? She spends her days studying this magic feng shui. If she was doing something serious, then his father wouldn't have to work 2 jobs and he wouldn't get hit by a car. From his words, she pays. Then, in his flashbacks, he goes along with his colleagues and suddenly someone calls him on the phone. It turns out to be Aunt Zhang, who says that he knows that he went too far on New Year's Eve, and that in 2 days he will sort things out and go home to apologize to her. She says that his mother is ill. He excitedly asks what she is ill with, if the disease is serious. She replies that she doesn't know either, but she doesn't even get out of bed, and advises him to come back immediately. He thanks her for letting him know, and, scratching his head, he thinks what to do, because tomorrow an inspection from the management is scheduled. Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet collapses and he falls into the abyss. When he regains consciousness, it was already raining and a pool of blood had formed under him and was still bleeding profusely. Quietly asks to help him and says that he does not want to die because his mother is waiting for him at home. But something envelops him and tells him that if he wants to survive, then he must do his will. In reality, he sees his mother's spirit dissipate in front of him after she was exposed to the attack, and he screams desperately for her. He finds himself in an immaterial space, clutching his head. He remembers about his mother. Crying and screaming, he accuses the evil spirits of killing her. He recalls that he said that if he built a tower of 9 evil spirits for him and helped him revive his spiritual powers, he would remove control from him and give him freedom. He wanted to see her and asks why he killed her, and he just grins. Evil spirits pointing a finger, says that the true killer is not him at all. He points to Lo, sees him enter the hut. He says that if this man had ruined their plans, then he would have been reborn long ago and reunited with his mother. His hatred should fall on him. having fallen under his manipulation, agrees that it's all Lo's fault. Evil spirits tell you to go and kill him. At this time, the girl, clinging to Lo, says that he needs to leave faster, that this type is different from other evil spirits. But the evil spirits manage to get stronger, and she understands that they did not have time. And this is the end. Evil spirits releasing all their strength attacks No. Lo notices that his strength has increased a lot, but this is a good opportunity to practice. The evil spirits yell that they will kill him, and Lo also begins to activate his powers. He says that he has heard these words a million times, but unfortunately, no one was able to do it, and pierces all the magic of evil spirits. The evil spirits do not understand how he was able to burn his spirit. Lo frees the guy from it, and he realizes that Emperor Wuji's defensive powers have been completely depleted, and his strength has been weakened compared to before. The guy is stunned to realize that the spirit of the king of evil spirits has disappeared, and how can he see his mother for the last time? Realizing that it's all over, he asks Lo to kill him, but Lo approaches him and activates the technique. In the next instant, his mother appears in front of him saying that he is finally awake. He does not believe his eyes. The girl is also surprised to see her, thought that she disappeared. Lo explains that this place concentrates the souls and holds the souls of the dead, allowing the scattered soul to recover, only here. The guy hugging her, crying and apologizing for those rude words. She reassuringly says that he has always been her pride. How could she be offended by him? He adds that it was she who failed to create a good environment for him. A flashback pops up where he was taunted, calling his mother a charlatan. She forced him to work, wanting to get rid of the hardships she brought. But wanting to help, she only hindered and now understands that it is she who should apologize. It starts to dissipate. He tries to grab her, crying, but she disappears, telling him to have a good life. Lo says that the wish to meet him was his mother's. As soon as it was fulfilled, the shackles disappeared, and now she returned to the other world and entered the circle of rebirth. Now he must make a choice. The guy extracting energy says that he did not absorb the souls of people, only extracted part of the yang energy from them, so all unclean spirits will be able to return to life in the human body. Lo says that if he returns all the souls, then he will lose the powers that protect his life. He will disappear from this world like that evil spirit and advises you to think carefully. The guy worships, says that Lo spared him without killing him with that evil spirit, allowed him to see his mother and fulfill his heart's desire, so he will die without regret. As he disappears, he adds that while he was in symbiosis, he felt that the special forces that have awakened in this world are very similar in their source to the forces of Luo. Finally, he says that perhaps there will be more frightening events and he still hopes that Lo will take care of himself. Lo was sitting in his room when the phone rang. It was Lan Bayer. She just wanted to know if he was free in the evening and invite him to dinner. He agrees to ask the time and place, and at this moment she is overjoyed. He says he's going to Tianyaju at 8 and then says goodbye to him. Another girl, wondering who she's going on a date with, that she started choosing an outfit so early. She replies that with one secretive and rather selfish man, after calling out to her, she says that she wanted to ask her something. Sheepishly asks if she confesses her feelings to him on the first date, as she thinks he will reciprocate. Tina asks in disbelief, which one of them is crazy? She looks at her blankly. She scolds, slaps her on the forehead, and reminds her that she is a wonderful folk beauty, and she is worried that someone may refuse her. She admits that if it was another person, then she could be completely confident to do it, but only in front of him does she get lost. Tina can't believe that their star can have such doubts, suggesting that he must be very attractive and successful. She replies that she doesn't really know about it, but Tina has been with her for so long and should know her character. She says that external things do not bother her at all. It is enough to touch her soul. Even if he does not have a penny in his pocket, then she is ready to work together with him. Laughing at her words, Tina asks if she is ready to provide financially for the handsome man, which is why she is embarrassed and angry. But her intuition tells her, even though they don't know each other very well, that he is quite unusual, and even she finds it difficult to approach him. At this time, the Lo spiritually activates the seed. Looking around, he notes that everything is clear within 100 meters. He even sees the water dripping and says to himself that everything is coming in motion and there is nowhere to hide. As he picks up his jacket, he reflects that the seed, fueled by the dragon's immature veins, grants all-seeing, and he has finally absorbed it. And the gray hair attracts a lot of attention, so it will temporarily return to its previous color. Meanwhile, at the Tongzhou Media Company, the director looks out of the window and sees Biao's people below. His companion asks him if those people are still there, and he confirms and notes that they've been stuck like this for 2 days. He advises Xiaoman to leave Luochen as soon as possible, since Hongbiao's men have been guarding the entrance for days and are probably looking for Luochen. Her colleague adds that Luo didn't show up for work yesterday. Maybe he ran into trouble and is hiding. If Hongbiao finds out that she is his girlfriend, then she will not escape problems. She remembers that today is her birthday, says she will meet with Luo and break off all relations with him. If he does not leave behind, then then Hai will take the opportunity and fire him. Then Hongbiao will definitely not touch them. Lo was driving in the car and stopped at a red light when the phone rang again. It was Xiaoman who called, asking if they would have dinner together if he had time. He replies that it won't work out this evening, he has already made an appointment. She says she needs to talk to him about something, sets up a meeting today at 8 in Tianjiju, and he has to be there, and resets the call. Hearing the familiar place, Luo chuckled at the coincidence. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Xia Jingjing wakes up and sits on the bed. Suddenly, she feels a sharp pain in her arm. Looking at his shabby clothes, he thinks that everything that happened yesterday turned out to be real. Suddenly notices a small footprint and a scratch on the body. Meanwhile, when Luo arrives at Tianjiju, he sees that everyone is already gathered and having fun. One of the colleagues noticed him, came up and called him the main character, asked why he came with empty eyes, which made everyone fall silent and look at him. Luo asks Xiaoman what her birthday is, and she says in her mind that she didn't expect him to really forget about her birthday, but she doesn't need to look for reasons. Another colleague intervenes, saying that all colleagues remember, and he being her boyfriend, how he just forgot. Luo notes with a grin that this is a trap to kill the invited guest. If he didn't want to reveal through Xiaoman what forces are behind Chen Chao, then he wouldn't have left it like this. But today, he decides to play along. He apologizes and admits that he forgot. And if she doesn't mind, he will now go and buy a present. Aside, one colleague grins and says that for the first time he hears that it was possible to urgently buy a gift for a girl. And the second adds that there is only a supermarket nearby, there are no roadside stalls here, can she lend him money? Xiaoman says that she doesn't need to and pretends to be upset, saying that they are breaking up, to which Luo only says a short, okay. There is total silence in the hall, and Xiaoman freezes in surprise. She asks Law again what he just said, and he calmly replies that he said, okay. She wonders incredulously how he can treat her so indifferently, so unconcerned. After all, he was supposed to be on his knees in front of her, sobbing and begging her not to leave him, and she was supposed to push him away like a stray dog, so that everyone would know that Lo wasn't her match. Her coworker approaches her and asks Wu Lo if he won't even try to hold her back, and Xiaoman says that he won't even ask why. Lo asks indifferently, why should he ask? She covers her face with her hands and says that he really disappointed her. And breaking down, he shouts that if she didn't feel sorry for him, then with his conditions, he wouldn't be able to find a girlfriend. He says that he has no car, no apartment, even to find a job needed her help, and she does not think that in his entire life there will be a girl who would like him. Suddenly, someone says that it's not necessary, and everyone turns their heads in surprise. Lan Bear walks down the stairs in a beautiful white dress. She says that if you like someone, you can love their temperament, knowledge, character, and upbringing. But you cannot love just for its real estate, cars, wallet, and prestige. Everyone is surprised to think, how did Lan Bear get here? Otherwise, it's just a monetary and erotic exchange. Why put them in the shell of love? Xiaoman gets angry and asks her what she means. She goes up to Lo and says she has something to tell him. At her click, the piano player starts playing, and the waiter brings her a microphone. And she starts singing about how she likes his cold attitude, his little tricks against her, his style of speech. That the fight for him is too fierce and she wants to take his hand and cross the road. And that they won't need many maps because happiness is already at the next station. A colleague is shocked to realize that Lan Bear is about to declare his love. And the director asks to pinch him, otherwise he suspects that he is sleeping. Lan Bear, turning to Xiaoman, asks, isn't it her who wanted to ask? What does she want to say? She wanted to say that such a good man is quite difficult to find. And she just refused him. Very noble of her. Xiaoman sees and asks Luo if he cheated on her. Immediately, colleagues picking up say that it is clear that everything is planned in advance, and the second calls him a scumbag and a whore. Luo responds by approaching Xiaoman and threatening to ask if she wants him to tell everyone about her dealings with Chen Chao. She sweats out no, and everyone immediately looks at her and starts whispering. Suddenly, Kai appears, saying that offending a girl with words is such a talent, and adds, if you have the guts, then let him see how he will show him a couple of techniques. The director of Kaya's school says that he didn't like this guy for a long time, and his woman also says to teach him a lesson. Otherwise, he will think that he is special. He turns to Luo and says, let him try to say that after training for 10 years in Sanda, he can only humiliate the weak. He will fight with one hand. It's enough for him to hit him once. This will be the end of it. Otherwise, let him not think that he can. Go on his own 2 feet. Luo indifferently says that he is not interested. The scoffer thought that he was scared. But Kai doesn't care and swings at Lo with all his strength. But Lo manages to hit him faster than him and says that his people like him, who are not even able to withstand even one blow, but who like to brag about their insignificance, are not interesting to him. Xiaoman thinks, how is it possible? Kai was once a champion in Sanda. How could he pass out with just one punch from Luo? And Luo didn't even know how to play basketball when they were in university. How could he change so much? Kai's wife runs up to him and asks, in a panic if he is safe. She tells him to quickly call the police. The director, angry, tells Lo that he is firing him, and in his characterization will indicate the reason for the dismissal that he beat up a family member of his colleague, and will make sure that he never found a job. Leon Bayer stands up for Luo, saying that the fool started the fight, and Luo was just defending himself and you can't mix work and personal. The director recalls that he is the head of this department and its head, and within this department, his word is law. Lo asks, so the boss can dismiss subordinates for no reason? The latter laughingly confirms and says to immediately return to the company and pick up their things. Luo, giving the phone to Lon Bayer, asks to call this number, tell them their address and that Luo Chen is waiting here. The director scoffs at his actions, says that even if the King of Heaven himself comes here, he will not be saved. A colleague supports him, says that he was publicly dismissed, so he pretends. Shi Jingjing suddenly walks in asking if Luo Chen is here. Kaya's woman sees her, runs up to her and says that he hit a man and that he should be arrested. She turns to Lo and asks him what hit the man, but Lo doesn't say anything. Lan Bayer sharply defends him, saying that they started first and now they are complaining about them. She wonders how such a superstar could be here, and how she can justify herself instead of Luo Chen. The next moment, the director and his colleague appear in front of her, telling her not to listen to her. They have just turned to the police, and a wounded man is lying in front of her eyes. Ominously, he adds that in any case, she must first arrest him. Stopping them, she says that this territory is not in her jurisdiction. If they have already called the police, then let them wait for another policeman to come. She is here on another matter. Lo asks if she was looking for him, and she confirms and says she wants to stay with him for a few days. Awkwardly, Luo asks if they are that close, and Xia Jingjing immediately replies with embarrassment that she didn't mean it at all. Trying to explain, she says that she just wants to live next to him, thinking to herself that it will be safer this way. Lan Bayer gets jealous and says that if he wants to admit such things, he should do it on a first-come, first-served basis. Watching all this, everyone is amazed at how two girls compete for a man. The director notices that both are extremely beautiful, and the third remembers how they said that Luo Chen will not find a girlfriend. Xiaoman doesn't understand what's wrong with them because Luo doesn't even have a job and she wonders what's so special about him. Suddenly, Senior D arrives and everyone wonders what the HR manager is doing here because he refused when he was invited. He immediately approaches Lo, addressing him as the director, asking if he has any instructions for him. Luo points to the director and two colleagues and says, these three should be fired. One of them, breaking down, asks on what grounds he wants to dismiss them, and in general who he thinks he is, but the director stops him with a blocking hand, and asks the older D who he just called Lo. He calmly replies that Director Luo is the owner of their company. She says that his jokes are not funny, because she went to university with Luo Chen and Xiaoman and knows the standard of living of his family. If it was possible to become the owner of a firm for losers like him, then it is. And then they cut her off, showing her phone. D shows an electronic contract for the transfer of shareholder rights to the company, says that Director Lo owns all the shares of their company. He is the sole shareholder. Xiaoman wonders why Luo kept it from her, and out of spite, the true picture was exposed after they broke up. If he had said it earlier, then she wouldn't have listened to those fools Hu Xinxin and Li Rui. The three of them look at the document in a daze. The director thinks that this is the end, because he just publicly said that he was going to fire the director. They are told that they will need to come to work tomorrow to complete the dismissal procedure. Then they can pick up their things and leave. Hu Xingzhen tells Luo not to be so smug. They haven't gotten even with him yet. And at that moment, someone asks who is throwing such words at him. It turned out that Hong Biao had come with his subordinates, and everyone was wondering why he was here. The director runs up to him and says that he came on time. Luo Chen is right here. The director happily thinks that if he can't deal with him, then he will definitely be able to. The next thing they know, they're all admitting in unison that they did something wrong. Hong Biao bows her head to Luo, asks him to accept his humble intentions, and hopes that he will forgive his rudeness that night by showing generosity. But Lo just passes by and says forget it. Hong Biao, barely holding back her tears, thanks him after leaving. The director grabs the hand of the companion, says that they need to leave faster. But Tao comes up to them and ominously asks who just said that he wants to settle accounts with Luo. The two of them are surrounded on all sides by Biao's men, and the director says in confusion that it's not him. The two of them have come to pick him up in his room, and the two girls just look at each other with hostility. Law irritably asks what the two of them are up to. Xia Jingjing replies that she just wants to stay with him for a while. Lan Bayer is angry and says to her, because Luo said that they don't know each other that well, she doesn't think it's inappropriate to stay here. She replies that she was looking for Lo on a serious matter and apparently, she is not the only one who does not want to leave. Lan Bayer chuckles as he notices that unlike her uninvited arrival, they had previously arranged a meeting. Lo wearily says that if they don't have business with him, he asks them to leave. Xia Jingjing says that after yesterday's incident, something strange suddenly happened to her body. Immediately, Lan Beier thinks they, last night, together with Luo Chen, are her body. She immediately understands what she was thinking, says that this is not at all what she could have thought. Lan Beier confusedly retorts that she didn't think of anything like that. She recalls that evening in the room, notes that Lo is not one of those who easily succumbs to female attractiveness. Even in that situation, he did not let go of his hands. Meanwhile, Xia Jingjing unbuttons her shirt and asks to see what's on her body. When she sees what she's doing, she's outraged that she's using such dirty methods. Taking off her dress, she thinks that even though she dislikes such simple methods, but she can't admit defeat so easily. She covers Xia Jingjing's shirt with her hand, says that she is also unwell and asks to see. Luo doesn't even know what to say. Xia Jingjing, pushing her away, says, "Don't make such a ridiculous scene." And she opens her shirt again and shows a trace. Both of them look at her body in surprise. Lan Beier asks if it's a skin condition, and she replies angrily that it's her damn skin condition. Luo calmly replies that it's just the remains of the evil king's corpse poison. This little thing will disappear in a couple of days. And she adds that it's up to her to believe it or not. But when he goes to bed, Lan Beier thinks admiringly that he still understands the art of healing. Really a man that she likes. Blocking his way, Xia Jingjing says she's not finished yet and asks if he knows director Wang Fu. Luo replies that he doesn't know him. She takes out her ID card and says that she suspects that Wang Fu's disappearance is connected to him and Lan Beier, and that they need to cooperate with the investigation. She says that 4 days ago, when the director went missing in Shaohai Villa, they saw from the cameras that the last place he appeared was this room, and the last people who saw him that day were him and Lan Beier. Lo asks if she wants to arrest him again. He saved her, and she wants to thank him like this. She says, "It's called distinguishing between work and personal." Lo says with a grin that if it's to distinguish between work and personal, then let him show evidence. She remembers that her people did a thorough search this morning and found no clues. But thinking about his specific abilities, she still feels that there is something fishy, but recognizes that such judgments cannot serve as evidence. She sits down on the bed and Lo asks her what she's doing. She replies that she simply will not leave because she is a police officer, has the authority to monitor the suspect, thinking to herself that he will definitely give himself away. Lan Beier says that if she doesn't leave, then she will stay too. Luo thinks with annoyance that until he removes the restrictions on Wuji cultivation, it is forbidden to harm pure yang energy. Anyway, he does not want to deal with them, so let them stay if they want. While the two girls were sleeping at the edges, Luo sat in the middle and activated the seed. Suddenly there is a knock, and his student bursts into the room all in tears. Those two wake up and are surprised to think that another one has appeared. Lo asks the student what's the matter. She wanted to say something about Grandpa. But he stops when he sees the other two and immediately thinks that Lo is having fun like this, while the other two wonder who this girl is because she just called Lo a teacher. Interrupting her thoughts, Lo tells her to keep talking. She says that Grandpa was ambushed and seriously injured, and as his student, she begs him to save Grandpa. Lo orders her to lead the way, and she happily obeys, and the other two also hurry after him. They arrive at the house of the Ye family, and a student goes to see her grandfather and says that the teacher is here. Grandpa sees Luo and abruptly stands up and asks why he is here, and the people around him notice Luo and think that they didn't expect to see him so young. Scolding his granddaughter, the grandfather says, "How could you bother Luo for such a small matter?" Before he can finish, he starts coughing up blood. The man says that now the grandfather's wound is too serious, and traditional treatment will not be effective. The student says that the grandfather is already old. You cannot take risks. Luo asks the others, besides Ye Shuangshuang, to come out. The man wanted to object, but the grandfather tells everyone to get out. Lo tells the student to help Grandpa sit down. With his gift, Luo sees that the power of the palm has penetrated to the bones and damaged his internal organs. He was hit on 2 Sin Shu acupoints using dark energy, and all his organs are twisted. Fortunately, the old man has a strong body, because someone else, even if they did not die on the spot, they would suffer greatly from the pain of their twisted internal organs. His spiritual power is extremely lacking, because not much time has passed since his awakening. The accumulated power is limited. It will not be possible to use it for healing. However, a small amount of spiritual power should be enough to calm the dark force in his body, and Grandpa coughs violently. Luo tells him that he has gotten rid of his wound. It will be enough to rest in a quiet environment for a few days, and they immediately thank him. Lo asks what finally happened. Grandpa replies that being full of youthful fervor once offended some people, but who would have thought that someone would bring a great master and take revenge on him? He says that he was returning from the company last night, and as soon as he got out of the car, he was ambushed by the great master. The bodyguards opened fire and were able to hold him back, but did not cause the slightest harm, and the latter managed to injure him and kidnap third Uncle Schuaner. Lo asks in surprise how the bullets didn't do any damage to him. Grandpa replies that the guy was using an external display of inner strength. just like Lo didn't use it too. Luo thinks that if you use the power of Wuji before the divine Qi awakens, you can block bullets. If you don't have it, you can hardly do it. He is curious about what methods great masters rely on to avoid bullets. Luo says that since the enemy has captured third Uncle Ye, he definitely wants something from him. He asks if he can take it with him and thinks to himself, why not take the opportunity to find out the real situation? The old man admits that the enemy is pressing him with the fate of his third son and forcing him to go and deal with him, but does not want Lo to risk it for him. Although he knows his strength, but that great master is also not simple, and if they fight, they will fight until their last breath. But Lo says with a grin that it's okay. The student also wanted to object. Grandfather thinks that it seems to him that Luo himself wants this battle. Isn't it necessary to be more careful in such matters as a master? Maybe he's still too young, but he doesn't have any other choice right now. Still, agreeing, then offers to stay with him for the night, and tomorrow afternoon they will go with him to the designated place. In Longtension Village, two men are fighting in the square. One of them, crushing, slams the opponent into the wall. With a smile, he asks who will be next. In the next instant, Ye and Luo's family finally arrives there. Upon noticing them, the surrounding people whisper to each other. Why esteemed Ye didn't bring Master Yu with him today, and who is this young man next to him? Shuang asks Biao how the situation is now. He replies that before they arrived there were several fighters in the arena, but all were defeated. Now there are no people left in Tongzhou who could fight him. Biao approached and said to the elder, however, it is said that Director Liu has brought a master from behind, but has been hiding him all this time, waiting for him to arrive. The director tells his fighter to go up. If that guy wins, he can safely offer the price of his payment. This fighter was the king of Thai boxing, and he thinks that his man will beat up that old geezer and Ye Zhengtian's status as Tongzhou's boss will become his. The master grins and asks them why there are no more people left in Tongzhou, since they are bringing foreign monkeys to perish, and calls his finger to attack. But he can't hit it, and he's slackly dodging it. Enraged, he shouts that he only knows how to dodge. In the next instant, the master snaps his neck with lightning speed and is behind him, telling him that the time of the teasing monkey is up. After knocking out the Thai, he tells the next one to come out. Everyone around is shocked. The headmaster can't believe how he was able to dodge all of his punches. They say around that the master didn't even stick out his hands, and how he was able to defeat that foreigner. Luo Yu, when they got close, he used the power of two fingers, his weak point on the neck, instant death from a single blow, quite in the style of Chinese martial arts. The master laughingly asks that no one wants to take up the challenge or what. He didn't expect that there would only be scum in Tongzhou who don't know how to fight. Elder Ye shouts out that Murongxiong is a scoundrel, and Murongxiong sees him and says that he has come after all. He thought that yesterday he crushed his knees with his palm, and now he is standing on them praying to the gods, who is angry and asks where his son is. He points to his son, who was gagged with a cloth and covered in blood, and he says that the criminal world has criminal laws. He has already said that it is only necessary to defeat him today, and he can safely take his son away. But he's sure that even this bunch of trash won't be able to match the strength of even a single finger. The elder replies that he did not say that he would fight for himself, but that another person will fight for him today, and points to Lo. Everyone around starts to criticize in a daze that they found some young man. Is there really no people left in Tongzhou? They assume that maybe he has a unique skill, but didn't everyone who is now lying in the arena have it? Completely disappointed. The master laughs out loud at Ye Zhengtian, not expecting that at this age he will not understand life, calling Luo a puppy, thinking that he did not come to fight, but to ask for mercy. Grinning, he notices in surprise that Lo actually dared to get up. He says that he doesn't kill nameless children, so he will give them a chance to tell them his name before he dies. Lo asks again, grinning. He will let him name it, and he deserves it. He gets angry and calls him ungrateful, since he wants to die so badly. Then he will help. In the next instant, Luo approaches him with lightning speed. He doesn't even have time to react before Lo kicks him hard with his knee. From his blow, he slammed into the wall and instantly dies. Biao and Dao nervously begin to clap in praise of Luo, and after looking back, they let the others clap without a word. The men talk. Even though this Murongxiong entered the ranks of great masters, but Luo was able to defeat him with one blow. This power will be enough to conquer the Celestial Empire. Having such a personality in Tongzhou opens their eyes. Director Liu thinks that Ye Zhengtian, the old highwayman, got off lightly. If this one had come later, he would have already taken out a real weapon. Meanwhile, Luo, looking at how he hangs, says to himself that he would like to learn the techniques of this master, but did not expect that he could not withstand even one blow, and in fact came in vain. Lo, turning around, was just about to leave when someone called out to him. A crushing blow falls from the sky. The old man asks Lo. He killed his man and wants to just leave. Lo, grinning in response, asks, and how does he want to? He turns around and addresses the people outside the arena, announces that from this day forward, Tongzhou district is subject only to him, Wan Yangjun. Biao nervously asks who this old man is, and Director Liu thinks that again some show-off, apparently his trump card will go to him. And he orders the bodyguard to finish off the old man in the arena, and he's on the radio telling the sniper to shoot. The bullet quickly flies into the old man, but at his command it stops and freezes in the air. Everyone is stunned and asks if it was a sniper's shot. The old man clasps his hands and points a bullet at Director Liu. The one who gets shot falls, the surrounding people are shocked. One man says that if he was able to stop the bullet, then this is a great master of the highest level. The second says that if he did not see it with his own eyes, he would not believe it. And the third panics, suggests that now there will be a change of power. The old man turns to Luo and says that he saw how he just showed himself, young and already with such skills, really rare, and offers to become his follower and thereby replace Murongshun. Then he will not take into account that Luo killed his disciple, otherwise. Interrupting him, Lo laughs, and the man gets angry and asks what's so funny. Luo asks if he wants to take him on as a disciple. He replies why not? With his experience and knowledge, it would be better for him than cultivating alone. Luo says that he has been disrespectful to the sky and has not worshipped the earth all his life, although his cultivation was passed down to him from his ancestors. But it was all self-education. He adds that if there were heaven and earth here, even they wouldn't dare become his teachers. The old man laughs and says that he can't even imagine the full size of heaven and earth. But if he recognizes him as a teacher, then the sun and moon are right in front of him. He is sure that he saw for himself that he did not even need to defend himself from that bullet. The sniper rifle did not harm him at all. Lo annoyingly says that the insignificant flicker of a firefly passes itself off as the sun and moon. Such unscrupulous people are really rare to meet. The old man, angry, says that since he refuses the opportunity, then do not be surprised at his ruthlessness. And he pounces on Lo, and he deftly dodges and tried to hit him. But the old man manages to dodge, and they fly in different directions. The old man laughingly says that even a large caliber weapon can't hurt him, and he was going to do something with his pathetic strength. Luo swings at the old man again, but he manages to form a defense and scoffs at his punch. If Murongxiong didn't underestimate him through carelessness, then Luo wouldn't even be able to break through the defense. Not to mention this old man, Luo goes off into the distance, and notes that the aura that this old man just released must be the so-called inner force. Although it is very far from the scale of power after awakening, but the basic power methods do not pose any threat to him, so people are afraid of great masters and will try to lure them to their side. But he doesn't understand how a person who hasn't yet awakened divine qi can create fluctuations in spiritual power. The student anxiously asks her grandfather if everything will be all right with Lo, who replies that today there will be a fierce battle. For Lo, probably this does not bode well. The old man asks where his frenzied enthusiasm has gone, but in these two fights, any intelligent person should have felt the difference between them. And wouldn't it be better for him to bow down to him early, so he might even leave his corpse intact, to which Luo just grins. Brushing the dust off his clothes, Lo confidently asks if he has finished his dying admonition. The old man seethes and notes that Lo has a sharp tongue. And attacking Lo, he shouts that today he will definitely tear him into small pieces. Luo speculates, to make up for Tai Huangjing's defense, it will require expending a lot of spiritual power. But to confirm the guesses, it will have to briefly take on its true form. Destructive energy descends from above, and then the old man is lost, asking what happened. A flaming sphere of fire opens in the sky. In the next instant, Emperor Wuji appears from above and asks if he still dares to say that he wants to take him on as an apprentice. The old man, looking at him dumbfounded and stammering, barely asks who he is. Others begin to notice that the old man has stopped moving. Lo swings his hand and answers the old man's question that he doesn't deserve to know. And the old man splits into small pieces, splattering everything around with blood. A shocked student asks her grandfather if her teacher is even a human being, and he replies that he underestimated Lo too much. And to think that he's so young, yet has such terrifying power, it's very confusing. Biao is also shocked to think that that old man couldn't even be wounded by a bullet, and Luo just wiped him out with one blow. And if Luo had wanted to kill last time, suddenly the man starts clapping and says that he is Guang Kun. He has never worshipped anyone in his entire life, but he is overly admiring today. And everyone will start clapping and saying that you will be admired here, like it or not, and that this guy is a unique brave man. Luo picks up the lying pendant and realizes that the waves of spiritual power emanating from Wan Yangjun's body came from this seed, which has defensive properties. And he assumes that with this, he was able to deflect that bullet, and thinks if you rely only on the external manifestation of internal strength, whether this can be done, he will need to check again. However, this can also be considered a success. It will be enough for him to make up for Emperor Wuji's expended strength today. At this time, a subordinate approaches the man who was watching at the side and asks him to read basic information about Luo Chen. He says to inform Fei Long that he will definitely deal with this within 3 days.